The 2026 FIFA World Cup represents a historic milestone in global sports, marking the first time the tournament will be co-hosted by three nations: Canada, Mexico, and the United States. This iteration is also the largest in history, expanding to a field of 48 teams and a grueling 104-match schedule. Amidst the 16 premier stadiums selected to host this spectacle, Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington, stands out as a strategically vital and culturally resonant venue. For the duration of the tournament, the facility will be officially known as Seattle Stadium, to comply with FIFA's strict regulations prohibiting corporate-branded venue names. Since its opening in 2002 on the footprint of the former Kingdome, Lumen Field has served as the heartbeat of Seattle's sports identity. It is the permanent home to the NFL's Seattle Seahawks, MLS's Seattle Sounders FC, and the NWSL's Seattle Reign FC. The stadium's design is iconic, featuring a horseshoe shape that frames the Seattle skyline and Elliott Bay, while its vertical seating tiers are famous for creating one of the most intimidating acoustic environments in professional sports. Having already successfully hosted matches for the FIFA Club World Cup 2025, the venue enters 2026 as a globally mature stadium, having ironed out the operational complexities required by FIFA for international competitions of this magnitude. Seattle's selection as a host city underscores FIFA's desire to leverage regions with deep-seated soccer DNA. As one of only two host cities in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle serves as a primary gateway for international fans traveling across the Pacific or down from Canada. The stadium is scheduled to host 6 total matches, 4 in the group stage, 1 in the round of 32, and 1 in the round of 16. The crown jewel of the local schedule occurs on June 19, 2026, when Seattle hosts the United States men's national team for their second group stage fixture. This match is expected to be one of the most watched events in the city's history, drawing a capacity crowd of over 69,000. To transform an NFL-centric facility into a Category 1 FIFA World Cup venue, the Washington State Public Stadium Authority and the Seahawks organization launched a multi-year Fanovation campaign, backed by $19.4 million in state-allocated funds, representing over 40% of Washington's total World Cup preparation budget. The upgrades are both technical and cosmetic. The most critical renovation is the transition from synthetic turf to a stitched natural grass pitch. FIFA mandates natural grass for all tournament matches, a significant challenge for a stadium that sits on a concrete base with limited sunlight. The new system includes sophisticated irrigation, vacuum ventilation to manage Seattle's moisture, and a specialized grow light array to maintain the pitch's integrity through 6 matches in 21 days. Further interior renovations include the modernization of the Hawk's Nest in the north end zone. To comply with FIFA's requirement that all spectator seats have backs, the traditional bleachers have been replaced with permanent, ergonomic seating. Additionally, the stadium has introduced the T-Mobile End Zone, a 2,625 square foot sports bar with a 60-foot LED wall, and the 1976 Club, featuring open-air loge boxes with heated seats. Hosting the FIFA World Cup places extraordinary demands on a host city, extending far beyond the stadium footprint. In Seattle, preparation has centered on coordination rather than reinvention. City agencies, state authorities, and the local organizing committee have focused on ensuring that World Cup operations integrate smoothly with existing civic systems, from transportation to public safety. Rather than constructing new festival zones or temporary districts, Seattle has emphasized controlled, predictable fan activity centered around established downtown and waterfront areas. This approach reflects the city's experience hosting large-scale international events and aims to minimize disruption while maintaining security and accessibility. Public messaging has remained focused on logistics, visitor management, and economic readiness rather than spectacle. For FIFA, this operational stability is a key asset. Seattle offers a mature hosting environment, one capable of accommodating global attention without requiring extraordinary intervention or permanent structural changes to the city's core. For a tournament as large as the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the fan experience begins long before kickoff. In Seattle, that experience is shaped less by spectacle and more by proximity and efficiency. Lumen Field's location, just south of downtown in the Soto district, places it within walking distance of the city's core. Most matchday travel will rely on public transportation rather than private vehicles. The Link light rail system connects the stadium directly to Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, allowing international visitors to arrive, drop their bags, and reach the gates without ever stepping into a car. The city's geography also offers alternatives few other host cities can match. Ferries and water taxis crossing Puget Sound will provide additional access for fans staying across the water, turning daily commutes into part of the visitor experience. Inside the stadium, the emphasis is on movement and flow rather than expansion. The stadium's use of checkout-free concession technology, already familiar to local fans, is expected to play a key role in keeping match days moving without altering the stadium's physical footprint. Security, while extensive, follows the same philosophy. FIFA's secure perimeter requirements will be implemented in coordination with local and federal authorities, but within a framework Seattle already understands. The 2026 FIFA World Cup arrives in Seattle at a moment when the city no longer needs to prove it can host major events. Instead, the tournament serves as a multiplier, amplifying existing strengths rather than forcing reinvention. Economic projections estimate nearly $1 billion in regional impact, driven largely by tourism, hospitality, and short-term employment. Yet the most significant aspect of that figure is how little permanent construction is required to achieve it. Seattle's approach avoids the familiar World Cup pattern of building first and justifying later. Lumen Field already exists as a modern, centrally located stadium. The investments made for 2026, natural grass infrastructure, broadcast enhancements, and operational upgrades, remain useful long after the final match is played. They improve the venue for domestic soccer, international friendlies, and future global events without burdening the city with unused assets. There is also a quieter legacy at work. For decades, Seattle has cultivated a reputation as one of the most consistent soccer markets in the United States, not through short-term surges, but through sustained attendance, supporter culture, and infrastructure stability. Hosting World Cup matches places that reputation on a global stage, reinforcing the city's standing rather than redefining it. When billions of viewers see Seattle's skyline framed through the open end of the stadium or watch matches played beneath the Pacific Northwest sky, they are not witnessing a city transformed for the moment. They are seeing a city operating as it normally does, just at a larger scale. Lumen Field's temporary transformation into Seattle Stadium for the 2026 FIFA World Cup is not about spectacle or reinvention. It is about readiness. Built on the site of the old Kingdome and shaped by more than 2 decades of professional use, the stadium enters the world's largest sporting event as a known quantity, tested, modern, and adaptable. Seattle's role in the tournament reflects that same identity. Through targeted upgrades, disciplined planning, and an emphasis on execution rather than display, the city offers FIFA something increasingly rare, a host that does not need to be rebuilt to perform. When the United States men's national team takes the field on June 19th, it will do so in a venue that represents the practical strength of American soccer infrastructure, and a city confident enough to let the game speak for itself. In the heart of Silicon Valley, where new code can change the world overnight, stands a structure that embodies Northern California's relentless ambition. Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara has spent the last decade establishing itself as a flagship venue for American sport, from San Francisco 49ers games to marquee concerts and Super Bowl 50. As the summer of 2026 approaches, the stadium is entering a new phase of its life cycle. For the FIFA World Cup 2026, the venue will compete under a different identity. To comply with FIFA's commercial rules, it will be known as San Francisco Bay Area Stadium during the tournament, stripping away its NFL naming rights branding in favor of geographic neutrality. This rebranding coincides with a sweeping $200 million upgrade program timed to both Super Bowl 60 in February 2026 and the World Cup matches that follow. For the Bay Area, the tournament is more than just a handful of soccer fixtures. It is a public test of whether the region's culture of innovation can be translated into the world's largest sporting event. NFL teams favor a surface that can withstand repeated, high-impact cuts and heavy loads, while FIFA's standards emphasize uniform traction, predictable ball roll and bounce, and a consistent surface over 90 minutes and beyond. These demands have driven a reevaluation of how Levi's Stadium prepares its turf for the global game. Even as the venue continues to serve as the 49ers' home field. Publicly announced upgrade plans for Levi's Stadium focus more on fan experience and infrastructure than on a specific new underground turf conditioning system. But the venue must still satisfy FIFA's pitch requirements through careful agronomy, drainage, and maintenance practices. One persistent design challenge for the building has been sun exposure and heat in certain seating areas, particularly during day events. While the stadium was originally conceived as an open, roofless bowl, the World Cup schedule gives organizers a powerful tool: the ability to place matches into cooler evening windows, which the 2026 fixture list in Santa Clara largely reflects. What sets San Francisco Bay Area Stadium apart is not just its concrete and steel, but its digital nervous system. Built from the beginning as a technology-forward venue, Levi Stadium is now undergoing a comprehensive connectivity refresh, designed to keep it at the forefront of the intelligent stadium movement. A key pillar of the $200 million plan is a new Cisco hyperconverged core network and Wi-Fi 6 system, replacing the original multi-network architecture and Aruba Wi-Fi deployment from 2014. The new design uses around 1,300 Wi-Fi 6 access points, nearly doubling the original AP count, with coverage extended to previously hard-to-serve areas in and around the building. In parallel, the stadium's neutral host cellular DAS is being upgraded, with AFL, via its acquisition of DAS Group Professionals, and JMA Hardware adding new C-band and millimeter wave capabilities to support 5G services demanded by carriers like Verizon. On the visual side, the 49ers plan to install new 4K video boards ahead of the 2025 NFL season, giving the stadium what the team describes as the largest 4K display in the league, while also expanding and modernizing more than 13,000 square feet of LED screens and upgrading the field lighting system for brighter, more energy-efficient night games. Together, this ecosystem allows tens of thousands of fans to stream, share, and interact through official apps and social platforms in real time, turning the stadium into a high-capacity data hub during every World Cup match. The stadium has also become a testing ground for new forms of frictionless hospitality. Using checkout-free technology from Zippin, Levi's currently operates 2 Blitz bars, concession areas where fans can tap in, grab drinks, and leave without a traditional checkout, with payment handled automatically. Team executives have said they are monitoring these stands closely to determine whether to expand checkout-free concepts across more of the building, including during major events like Super Bowl 60 and World Cup 2026. The significance of San Francisco Bay Area Stadium in 2026 is not only technological, but also cultural and diplomatic. The confirmed World Cup schedule turns the venue into a crossroads of continents. Group stage fixtures in Santa Clara include Paraguay, Australia, Jordan, and Algeria, culminating in a round of 32 knockout match on July 1st. This slate mirrors the Bay Area's diversity, echoing immigrant communities that have helped shape Northern California's identity. Inside the building, the $200 million project includes substantial renovations to premium inventory, remodeling suites, expanding club spaces, and reimagining hospitality zones to better serve both local fans and international visitors. Levi Stadium offers more than 160 suites and extensive club seating, and the current upgrade cycle focuses on moving these spaces toward a more modern, lounge-style feel, aligning them with expectations for Super Bowl and World Cup caliber hospitality. While specific new brand names for these clubs have not all been publicly announced, the guiding idea is clear: fuse Silicon Valley's technology culture with elevated food, beverage, and social experiences that can host everyone from hardcore supporters to global decision makers. Ultimately, the story of Levi Stadium during the 2026 World Cup is about legacy. By the time the final whistle of the tournament's last match in Santa Clara is blown, the stadium will have added a rare line to its resume: host of both Super Bowl 60 and FIFA World Cup games in the same calendar year, a first in the history of major global sports venues. The investments that made this possible, the converged core network, the Wi-Fi 6 deployment, the expanded 4K boards, the refurbished suites and clubs, and the rebuilt 4K/IP production control room, are designed as permanent features that will benefit 49ers fans, soccer supporters, and concert goers long after 2026. Local reports already describe the new control room build-out as the largest 4K production control room on the West Coast, a glass-to-glass system ready for the demands of modern broadcasts. Paired with enhanced connectivity and evolving sustainability practices, the stadium is emerging as a blueprint for future multi-sport venues, places where environmental responsibility, high-bandwidth digital infrastructure, and elite athletic performance can coexist. As the world's attention turns to Santa Clara in June and July of 2026, what they will see is not just a series of games, but a region attempting to translate its digital dominance into a physical spectacle, welcoming visitors with open arms and some of the most capable connectivity in any stadium on Earth. In the end, what unfolds in Santa Clara in 2026 is less a one-off spectacle than a proof of concept. By aligning physical upgrades with a modern digital backbone and a demanding event calendar, the stadium shows how a venue can evolve without losing its identity. The World Cup reveals what the renovations were meant to achieve, transforming a regional NFL home into an adaptable, globally fluent stage, where the experience in the stands keeps pace with the drama on the pitch. What lingers after the final whistle is not only who advanced or who was eliminated, but the sense that a building can participate in the story, rather than merely frame it. In Silicon Valley fashion, San Francisco Bay Area Stadium treats each match as entertainment and a live stress test, refining how fans move, connect, and share. If the project succeeds, its legacy expectations set. Hard Rock Stadium hosts 7 World Cup matches in 2026, including a quarterfinal and a third-place game. For a venue that started as one man's private gamble in 1987, the stadium's global ambitions were built into the original blueprint on December 1st, 1985, when Miami Dolphins owner Joe Robbie broke ground on a privately financed stadium that would bear his name. In an era when most NFL teams relied on public funding, Robbie rejected that model entirely. He raised $115 million through suite deposits, club seat sales, and bonds backed by Dolphins assets, betting that South Florida could support a multi-purpose venue capable of hosting far more than football Sundays. His gamble paid off when the stadium opened on August 16, 1987. The unusual rectangular design was a considered choice. Robbie anticipated that Miami would eventually land a Major League Baseball franchise, and he wanted a structure that could convert between sports without requiring demolition. Soccer wasn't on his mind at the time, but the wider pitch dimensions that FIFA requires fit comfortably inside the same footprint he'd planned for baseball. For years, the stadium cycled through sponsorship names: Pro Player Stadium, Dolphins Stadium, Land Shark Stadium, but the underlying structure stayed largely the same. By 2010, that had become a problem though. The NFL delivered an ultimatum. The stadium had grown outdated, its amenities no longer competitive with newer venues across the league. Without major renovations, Miami would lose consideration for Super Bowls and other marquee events. Stephen Ross, who had purchased the Dolphins in 2008, responded with a $500 million privately funded overhaul beginning in January 2015. Crews replaced every seat, rebuilt the 100 and 300 level concourses, and reduced capacity from 76,018 to 65,326. Fewer seats, but dramatically better comfort and premium revenue potential. The signature addition arrived in 2016, an open-air canopy that shades most of the seating bowl while leaving the playing surface exposed to sunlight. That same August, Hard Rock International secured an 18-year naming rights deal, reportedly worth $250 million. Something most people don't realize about Hard Rock Stadium is that in some seating configurations, fans in the first row used to sit 90 feet from the sideline. For comparison, Soldier Field, home of the Chicago Bears, places spectators at the 50-yard line just 55 feet away. Football fans watch their games from farther away than at almost any other NFL venue, which made the atmosphere feel slightly detached, even when the stands were full. Later renovations addressed this by physically moving entire seating sections closer to the field. The change worked, but it permanently ended the stadium's ability to host baseball. The Miami Marlins, the city's MLB franchise, had already left for their own facility in 2012. The playing surface is Tifway 419 Bermuda grass, a warm season turf chosen specifically for Florida's punishing climate. It handles heat and humidity better than most alternatives, which is why you'll find it at elite southern venues across the country. Maintaining pristine turf during July requires constant irrigation, precise mowing schedules. The canopy adds another layer to consider. It covers roughly 92% of spectators, while leaving the central playing surface exposed to direct sun and sudden rain. On July 14, 2024, Hard Rock Stadium faced a serious security test. The Copa America final between Argentina and Colombia should have been a showcase event for the venue. Instead, tens of thousands of fans without tickets showed up with one goal: get inside however they could. Gates were breached and entry procedures collapsed, forcing officials to delay the match start while they scrambled to restore order. An after-action report obtained by ESPN revealed just how badly things had broken down. Officials deployed at least 900 law enforcement members to respond. Yet the same report criticized major gaps in intelligence gathering and perimeter planning. The most damaging detail was what organizers didn't anticipate: massive crowds of unticketed fans arriving early, parking off-site, and rushing entry gates in coordinated waves that overwhelmed security checkpoints. By the end of the night, police had made 27 arrests and 55 ejections. Outside the gates, news cameras captured families trapped in bottlenecks under the July sun. Inside, staff resorted to row-by-row ticket checks to separate legitimate attendees from those who had forced their way through. It was, frankly, embarrassing for a venue that has hosted 6 Super Bowls. Miami-Dade County leadership responded with public promises of a comprehensive review, acknowledging that World Cup crowds will be larger and FIFA standards are far more demanding. The venue's modern amenities and premium seating mean nothing if fans can't enter safely. Getting through the gates is only half the challenge, though. For international visitors unfamiliar with Miami's geography, simply reaching the stadium presents its own obstacles, and the venue's location doesn't make things easy. Hard Rock Stadium sits in Miami Gardens, roughly 15 miles north of downtown Miami and 18 miles from Miami Beach. The location was chosen for easy parking, not for walkability. The stadium's surrounding lots span 140 acres, with capacity for over 24,000 cars, buses, and RVs, spread across massive surface areas that surround the venue like an asphalt ocean. For NFL Sundays, this setup works perfectly well. Dolphins fans arrive hours early for tailgates, spread their arrival across the afternoon, and leave in manageable waves after the final whistle. But World Cup crowds will operate differently. International visitors will arrive via rideshare, rental cars, hotel shuttles, and unfamiliar bus routes. Accessibility is another concern. Elderly supporters, families with young children, and disabled fans can't simply walk farther when wayfinding fails. When 65,000 people request rideshares simultaneously, cell service buckles under the demand, and pickup zones overflow. Road closures designed to speed up departures instead funnel everyone into identical choke points. All those parking spaces become irrelevant if the roads leading away can't absorb the volume. Hard Rock Stadium has spent 4 decades building a reputation as a venue that can handle the biggest events in sports. The 2026 World Cup will test whether that reputation holds up under FIFA's scrutiny. But the stadium's resume suggests it belongs on this stage. 6 Super Bowls have unfolded here since 1987. The Marlins brought World Series games in 1997 and 2003. And more recently, the venue has even expanded into motorsport. Since 2022, the Miami International Autodrome has wrapped around the stadium complex for Formula One's Miami Grand Prix. In 2025, the FIFA Club World Cup provided a good rehearsal within FIFA's ecosystem before the full tournament arrives. What makes Hard Rock genuinely interesting is how many different roles it tries to play. In a single decade, this stadium has attempted to be NFL Cathedral, Formula One backdrop, tennis campus, and now World Cup arena. Each event brings different crowds, different security demands, and different traffic patterns. One event's failure infects the next event's reputation, and the World Cup audience won't care what worked during the Super Bowl. For them, it's all about the soccer. Joe Robbie built the stadium with private financing because he believed South Florida deserved a venue that could host anything. 4 decades later, the 2026 World Cup represents the ultimate test of whether he was right. The physical infrastructure is solid. The grass handles the climate, the canopy keeps fans comfortable, and the sightlines work for soccer. Hard Rock has proven it can stage greatness when every system performs. The question now is whether the operation can match the architecture. When the 2026 FIFA World Cup arrives in North America, Mexico's role in the tournament will once again be defined by football culture, history, and modern infrastructure. Among the venues selected to represent the country is Estadio Akron, a stadium that reflects both contemporary stadium design and the deeply rooted identity of Mexican football. Located in Zapopan, within the Guadalajara metropolitan area, Estadio Akron will serve as one of Mexico's 3 World Cup venues, hosting a series of group stage matches and placing the city of Guadalajara back on the global football stage. For the duration of the tournament, the stadium will be officially referred to as Estadio Guadalajara, in accordance with FIFA regulations that prohibit commercial naming rights during World Cup competitions. While the name may temporarily change, the venue's role and significance remain tied to its original identity and its connection to one of Mexico's most historic clubs. Estadio Akron sits on the western edge of the Guadalajara metropolitan area, in the municipality of Zapopan, Jalisco. Guadalajara is Mexico's 3rd largest metropolitan area and one of the country's most culturally influential cities, known for mariachi music, tequila production, and a long-standing passion for football. The stadium is part of a larger sports and entertainment development designed to serve as a modern anchor for the region's sporting infrastructure. Unlike some World Cup venues that sit in dense urban cores, Estadio Akron is positioned in a more open area, allowing for large-scale crowd movement, parking infrastructure, and event staging. This location proved beneficial during domestic league play and international matches, and will be especially important during the World Cup, when tens of thousands of supporters will converge on the venue within a compressed tournament schedule. The stadium was developed as a replacement for Estadio Jalisco, the historic but aging home of Club Deportivo Guadalajara. Construction began in 2004, though the project faced several financial delays that extended the timeline. After years of planning, redesigns, and funding challenges, the stadium officially opened on July 30th, 2010. Estadio Akron was designed by French architects Jean-Marie Massot and Daniel Pouzet, with sports architecture firm Populous contributing to the stadium's functional layout and spectator experience. The result was a modern, football-specific stadium built to international standards, emphasizing sightlines, acoustics, and fan proximity to the pitch. From the outset, the stadium was conceived not merely as a club venue, but as a facility capable of hosting major international events. That long-term vision is now being realized through its selection as a 2026 World Cup host. Estadio Akron features a contemporary bowl design with a seating capacity of approximately 48,000 to 49,000 spectators, depending on configuration. While smaller than some of the massive NFL stadiums hosting matches in the United States, the venue's compact design creates a more intense atmosphere, with fans positioned close to the field. The stadium's roof structure partially covers the seating bowl, providing shade and protection while enhancing acoustics. The pitch meets FIFA's standard dimensions of 105 by 68 meters, ensuring compliance with international competition requirements. Internally, the stadium includes modern hospitality suites, locker rooms, and broadcast infrastructure. These elements have already been tested through Liga MX play, international friendlies, and continental competitions, giving FIFA confidence in the venue's readiness for World Cup operations. Since its opening, Estadio Akron has served as the home of Club Deportivo Guadalajara, commonly known as Chivas. As one of Mexico's most popular and culturally significant clubs, Chivas brings a unique identity to the stadium. The club's long-standing policy of fielding only Mexican players has helped establish it as a symbol of national pride, and that connection extends directly to the stadium itself. Over the years, Estadio Akron has hosted league matches, playoff games, and international competitions, gradually building its reputation as a modern fortress for one of Mexico's most storied teams. During the 2026 FIFA World Cup, Estadio Akron, under the name Estadio Guadalajara, will host 4 group stage matches. While it will not be used for knockout rounds, its role in the opening phase of the tournament is strategically significant. Group stage matches often shape the trajectory of the competition, and hosting early fixtures brings sustained international attention to the city and venue. One of the most anticipated matches scheduled for the stadium is Mexico's second group stage match, a fixture expected to draw intense local support and global viewership. For Mexican supporters, playing on home soil carries symbolic importance, and Guadalajara's football culture ensures an atmosphere unlike any other in the tournament. The selection of Estadio Akron reflects FIFA's intent to balance large-scale venues with more intimate stadiums that emphasize atmosphere and tradition. In this sense, the stadium complements Mexico's other World Cup venues while offering a distinctly different matchday experience. Unlike some host stadiums that require extensive renovations ahead of the tournament, Estadio Akron already meets most FIFA requirements due to its relatively recent construction. Preparations for the World Cup have focused primarily on operational upgrades, technology integration, and surrounding infrastructure improvements. Local and state authorities in Jalisco have emphasized transportation planning, security coordination, and fan services as part of broader World Cup preparations. These efforts are designed to ensure efficient movement between airports, hotels, fan zones, and the stadium itself. The stadium's existing experience hosting large crowds, combined with Guadalajara's history of staging international events, has positioned the venue as a low-risk but high-impact component of Mexico's World Cup hosting plan. Hosting World Cup matches is expected to generate a significant economic boost for Guadalajara and the surrounding region. Tourism, hospitality, transportation, and local businesses all stand to benefit from the influx of international visitors. Beyond immediate economic gains, the event provides long-term exposure for the city as a global destination. Estadio Akron's role in the tournament reinforces Guadalajara's image as a modern, internationally connected city while maintaining strong ties to Mexican tradition. The combination of football, culture, and urban identity is central to how the venue will be presented to the world during the tournament. After the World Cup concludes, Estadio Akron's legacy will extend beyond the matches themselves. World Cup hosting elevates a stadium's international profile, often leading to increased opportunities for future international fixtures, tournaments, and high-profile events. For Chivas, the World Cup represents a moment when their home stadium becomes a global stage, further embedding the club's identity into international football history. For the city of Guadalajara, it marks another chapter in a long relationship with the world's most popular sport. Estadio Akron's inclusion in the 2026 FIFA World Cup reflects a careful balance between modern stadium design, cultural significance, and operational reliability. While it may not be the largest venue in the tournament, its atmosphere, location, and connection to Mexican football culture make it one of the most meaningful. As the world turns its attention to North America in 2026, Estadio Guadalajara, known to fans as Estadio Akron, will stand as a symbol of Mexico's football identity, hosting the world not with excess, but with passion, history, and purpose. AT&T Stadium is going to be one of the defining backdrops of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Not because it is new, but because it was built for exactly the kind of scale this tournament demands. FIFA's expanded 48-team format means more matches, more media, more logistics, and more pressure on every host venue to function like a small city. In North Texas, the stadium known year-round as AT&T Stadium in Arlington becomes, for tournament purposes, Dallas Stadium, and it will carry one of the heaviest workloads of any venue in 2026. 9 matches total, culminating in a semi-final on July 14th, 2026. When the building opened in 2009, it was designed as more than a football stadium. The Dallas Cowboys and the city of Arlington built a retractable roof venue meant to flip between NFL, college football, concerts, and global mega events with minimal disruption. On paper, that flexibility reads like marketing. In practice, it is the reason FIFA can ask for a World Cup spec soccer environment inside an NFL facility and still see Arlington as a low-drama solution relative to other sites. Start with the bones. The stadium's signature structural move is the pair of massive arches that define the roofline and enable an enormous column-free interior. Engineers built it to span big and stay adaptable, while turning the field configuration over repeatedly across a month-long event. Then there is the roof itself. The retractable panels, translucent fabric membrane, are engineered to open and close quickly, on the order of minutes, so the building can manage heat, glare, and weather without guessing wrong at kickoff. A World Cup matchday cannot simply pause for an hour because conditions turn brutal. Controlling the environment is part of protecting the product on the field and in the stands. During the World Cup, you will hear Dallas Stadium, not AT&T Stadium. This is not a local branding choice. FIFA's commercial rules generally prevent non-tournament sponsors from being promoted through venue names, so corporate stadium brands are typically stripped for the event. Local coverage has already outlined the practical result. Signage and references tied to the corporate name get covered, and the venue is presented under a generic tournament label. That detail may sound cosmetic, but it hints at the broader reality. A FIFA venue is temporarily converted into a controlled environment where everything, from wayfinding to video boards to exterior signage, has to harmonize with tournament operations and sponsor obligations. Dallas Stadium is the surface-level version of a deeper takeover. FIFA arrives with a rulebook, and the building becomes a standardized World Cup machine. FIFA has confirmed that Dallas will host 9 matches, 5 in the group stage, 2 in the round of 32, 1 in the round of 16, and the tournament's first semifinal. The local North Texas host committee also publishes a venue schedule that aligns with that structure, showing a run of match dates from mid-June through mid-July, ending with the July 14th semifinal. The stadium must operate as a repeated cycle system: secure the perimeter, move tens of thousands of people, process media, switch teams, reset branding, keep the pitch within spec, and do it again, on tight turnarounds. The building's reputation as a mega event venue is not just helpful, it's essentially being tested in series. If there is one requirement FIFA does not bend, it is the playing surface. World Cup matches must be played on natural grass, and the field dimensions must meet FIFA's standards, typically wider than an American football layout. That requirement collides with a modern reality. Many NFL venues use synthetic turf and were not built primarily for soccer geometry. AT&T Stadium has hosted major soccer events before, and North Texas organizers have argued for years that the stadium was designed with this kind of reconfiguration in mind. But we can do it, and we can do it 9 times in tournament conditions are different statements. Local reporting points to the practical approach: replacing the everyday surface with a temporary natural grass system and installing a web of temporary infrastructure FIFA needs: modular buildings, power, fencing, and other tournament overlay elements. This is where the story gets interesting. The stadium's roof helps with weather control, but grass still behaves like grass. It needs the right light, the right temperature range, and careful maintenance. Hosting soccer indoors-ish is less about avoiding rain and more about managing a living surface in an engineered environment. The quality of the pitch is not a footnote. Players will talk about it, managers will complain about it, and broadcasters will zoom in on every divot if it becomes a storyline. AT&T Stadium is famous for its scale and its screens. The center-hung video board is among the most recognizable interior features in American sports venues, and its dimensions have been widely reported for years. For the World Cup, the spectacle becomes more disciplined. FIFA match presentation is not an NFL show. It is tightly standardized, with specific camera positions, signage rules, mixed zone workflows, and broadcast operations. What makes AT&T Stadium valuable to FIFA is that it can absorb the broadcast and fan experience requirements without feeling cramped. The building was built to carry weight, and operationally. A World Cup venue does not function in isolation, and North Texas is not treating it that way. The city of Dallas has documented preparations that position the region as more than a match site. Dallas is set to host the International Broadcast Center and tournament operations functions at the K. Bailey Hutchison Convention Center, plus an official FIFA Fan Festival footprint at Fair Park. This matters because it explains why the Arlington Stadium gets labeled Dallas Stadium despite being in Arlington. The World Cup's operational identity in North Texas is larger than a single municipality. You have matches in Arlington, broadcast operations and major activations in Dallas, and regional transportation and security planning tying it together. The same city memo outlines the planning framework that tends to decide whether host cities shine or stumble: public safety coordination, transportation and mobility planning, fan engagement programming, and sustainability and legacy initiatives. Every host city says the right things about welcoming the world. The harder question is whether people can physically get where they need to go on time, day after day. Local reporting in late 2025 highlighted the looming transit strain around the tournament window, describing the World Cup as a sustained surge, effectively weeks of amplified demand, rather than a single peak event. Security is the other unavoidable pressure point. North Texas officials and media have discussed federal grant programs, interagency coordination, and the scale of planning required when you're hosting matches, plus major fan sites and international media operations. Those details are not background noise. They shape the fan experience as much as the match itself. A perfect stadium night can be undermined by a 2-hour exit bottleneck, unclear wayfinding, or security queues that swallow half a pregame window. FIFA knows this, which is why the event isn't judged only on what happens between the lines. In a tournament spread across 3 countries and 16 host cities, some venues will be remembered for aesthetics, some for football, and some because they carried the tournament's weight. AT&T Stadium is positioned to be in that last category. It is not a purpose-built soccer cathedral. It is something more modern, a mega venue engineered to transform, optimized for broadcast, and capable of swallowing the logistics of a global event without needing a new building project to make it work. FIFA's own communications emphasize the volume of matches the stadium will host and the significance of that semifinal. If the pitch plays well, if transportation holds, and if match days run clean, Dallas Stadium will feel like one of the tournament's central rooms, the place the World Cup keeps returning to, not as a novelty, but as a dependable engine. And if something goes wrong, if grass becomes a headline, or transit becomes the story, this venue will also be where those problems are most visible, because the spotlight will be there so often. That is the trade. Hosting 9 matches means you don't just get a World Cup moment, you get a World Cup residency. North Texas is betting that AT&T Stadium was built for exactly that. On June 12, 2026, a men's World Cup match will be played on Canadian soil for the first time. The stadium hosting it seats 28,000 people. FIFA requires 45,000. That gap explains everything that follows. BMO Field sits on a patch of Toronto's exhibition place that has already watched 4 previous stadiums rise and fall. The current venue is the 5th structure to occupy this waterfront land, and if you know where to look, traces of the others are still visible. The Toronto Argonauts played their first game at Exhibition Stadium on August 5, 1959, after moving from Varsity Stadium to the Canadian National Exhibition Grounds. The city's Canadian Football League team made it home immediately and played there for nearly 3 decades. By the time they left in 1988, the venue had become a landmark for Canadian football. Then came baseball. The Toronto Blue Jays arrived in 1977, sharing a building never designed for their sport. The awkward sightlines showed it. Cold winds blew off Lake Ontario and cut through the stands. Visiting players complained constantly, and the place earned a reputation as one of professional baseball's least pleasant venues. The Blue Jays played their final game there on May 28, 1989, before moving to the newly opened Skydome. The Argonauts had already left. The structure lingered for another decade, increasingly neglected, until demolition crews brought it down on January 31, 1999. For 7 years after that, prime Toronto waterfront real estate sat empty, used only for parking. The original bases and home plate from the old baseball diamond remained marked in the asphalt, small monuments visible to anyone walking across the lot, pointing to a stadium most people had already forgotten. When a replacement finally came, it wasn't another multi-purpose giant. The city chose to build something specifically for soccer. BMO Field broke ground on March 29, 2006, funded by a partnership between 3 levels of government and Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. Construction crews worked through a Toronto winter to meet an aggressive deadline. Then, on April 28, 2007, Toronto FC, the city's new Major League Soccer franchise, played their first home match against the Kansas City Wizards. The visitors scored the stadium's only goal that afternoon, handing the home side a 1-0 defeat. But that changed 2 weeks later. On May 12th, striker Danny Dichio found the back of the net against the Chicago Fire in the 24th minute. It was Toronto FC's first ever home goal, and the crowd completely lost it. And supporters still sing for Dichio at minute 24 in every home match. There were some problems in the early years, though. For instance, BMO Field originally used field turf, a synthetic surface that drew constant criticism from players who could feel the difference immediately. Soccer purists wanted grass, and the complaints grew louder until August 2009, when the stadium hosted a friendly against Real Madrid. BMO Field switched to natural grass permanently before the 2010 season, and the stadium settled into its identity: proper pitch, strong atmosphere, devoted supporter culture. For the World Cup, they need to expand capacity from 28,000 to 45,000. That is costing them $146 million. Toronto taxpayers are covering $123 million of that bill, with MLSE contributing the remaining $23 million. In exchange, the city gets a stadium capable of hosting the biggest sporting event on the planet, for exactly 1 month. The expansion centers on 17,756 temporary seats spread across massive steel grandstands at the north and south ends. These structures are designed to be dismantled after the tournament, leaving BMO Field close to its original size once the World Cup ends. There's something slightly absurd about spending this much on infrastructure that will mostly disappear, but that's the price of admission to this level of competition. The permanent upgrades matter more, of course. Workers have installed 4 new LED video boards, one at each of the stadium's corner columns, each measuring 50 feet by 30 feet. Combined, they contain more than 5 million pixels. The production control room got a complete overhaul, transforming BMO Field's broadcast capabilities to meet FIFA's technical specifications for global television coverage. Construction crews now have until spring 2026 to finish the temporary seating, upgraded lighting, new sound systems, and enhanced Wi-Fi infrastructure. FIFA's scheduled handover date is May 12, 2026, exactly 30 days before Canada's opening match. FIFA requires neutral venue names to avoid conflicts with tournament sponsors. That means BMO Field becomes simply Toronto Stadium for the duration of the World Cup. The changes go far beyond swapping a name on broadcast graphics. Every BMO logo, every sponsor banner, every piece of branded material that normally greets fans walking through the gates has to be covered or removed entirely. The stadium presents itself as a blank canvas for FIFA's own commercial partners. For supporters who have watched Toronto FC play here since 2007, the visual shift will feel strange. The familiar red and white branding that defines matchday will temporarily vanish, replaced by World Cup aesthetics designed for global broadcast audiences rather than local traditions. It's a reminder that during the tournament, BMO Field belongs to FIFA, not Toronto. The game presentation inside the bowl changes too. Replays, graphics, and stadium entertainment will run through the new production systems, all built to FIFA's technical standards. Enhanced replay angles, stadium-wide audio, and broadcast quality visuals will transform how fans experience each match. After the tournament, the neutral branding disappears, and BMO Field gets its name back. Toronto's total World Cup hosting costs have climbed to nearly $380 million, according to CBC, far above earlier estimates. That figure covers more than stadium upgrades, city services, transportation infrastructure, security operations, and FIFA's long list of requirements. Ticket demand created its own controversy. Toronto's organizing committee expects requests to vastly exceed available seats for each match, and that imbalance led to an unusual proposal, spending $10.7 million on ticket packages with plans to resell them to residents. Then there's the match day logistics. Exhibition Place sits near major roads and transit lines, which sounds convenient until you picture tens of thousands of fans arriving simultaneously through controlled security perimeters. The experience will feel nothing like a regular Toronto FC game. Tighter checkpoints, longer queues, and a transformed atmosphere await everyone who enters. By the time the referee blows the opening whistle on June 12th, Toronto will have spent years planning, building, and arguing its way to this moment. The ticket fights will be forgotten. The budget debates will fade. What remains is whether the experience inside the stadium justifies everything it took to get there. When the final whistle blows on July 2nd, 2026, the temporary grandstands will come down, but it won't be the same stadium it was before. The video boards stay. The broadcast infrastructure stays. A venue built for domestic soccer now operates with technology installed for a global audience of billions. Exhibition Place has hosted 5 stadiums across 7 decades. Each one reflected what Toronto needed at the time: football, baseball, parking lots, soccer, and now a World Cup. The site keeps reinventing itself, and each version leaves something behind for the next. This time, what stays is a stadium upgraded far beyond what the city could have justified on its own.
From Pele's farewell to Maradona's miracle, Estadio Azteca rises like a concrete volcano in Mexico City, immortalized as the stadium that has hosted the most World Cup matches. In the early 1960s, Mexico stood at a crossroads. The nation had recently hosted the 1968 Olympic Games, a global spectacle that drove Mexico's desire to be recognized as a modern power on the world stage. But even though football was deeply woven into the fabric of Mexican life, the country lacked a venue that could match its ambition. The Mexican Football Federation, backed by civic leaders and national planners, envisioned a stadium that could not only accommodate international tournaments, but also symbolize Mexico's cultural and architectural progress. To realize this vision, renowned architects Pedro Ramirez Vázquez and Rafael Mijares Alcereza were commissioned. Ramirez Vasquez was already a well-known figure in Mexican architecture, having worked on projects like the National Museum of Anthropology and the Olympic facilities. His building philosophy emphasized both monumental scale paired with functional clarity, a style that resonated with Mexico's desire to project strength and modernity. Together with Mijares Alcereza, he began sketching a design that would embody both efficiency and grandeur. Their plan was audacious, a stadium capable of seating over 100,000 spectators, built to withstand the demands of international competition, and designed to leave a mark on the global imagination. The architects conceived Estadio Azteca as a vast bowl-shaped arena, chosen to maximize sightlines and create an enveloping atmosphere. Unlike traditional rectangular stadiums, the bowl design ensured that every spectator, regardless of class or ticket price, would feel immersed in the spectacle. During construction, reinforced concrete became the material of choice for its durability and flexibility. This allowed for tiered seating that separated social groups while maintaining unobstructed views. But one of the greatest engineering challenges lay in constructing the long-span beams that supported the upper tiers. At the time, there were few stadiums in the world that had attempted such massive spans, and because of the weight of the concrete, builders needed innovative solutions. The result was a structure that combined brute strength with architectural elegance. The stadium's verticality and scale made it instantly recognizable. It was a colossus that dominated the southern skyline of Mexico City. Its design was not merely functional, but symbolic, projecting Mexico's confidence in its readiness to host the world. The philosophy behind Azteca's design was deeply intentional. It was meant to be monumental, imposing, and unforgettable. Every angle reinforced the sense of grandeur, while the acoustics of the bowl amplified crowd noise into a thunderous roar. Constructing the stadium wasn't the only challenge builders faced. Built at an altitude of approximately 2,200 meters above sea level, Estadio Azteca presented unique engineering and athletic challenges. The volcanic soil of Mexico City required specialized foundations to stabilize the immense structure. Engineers devised deep pilings and reinforced bases to ensure the stadium could withstand both geological instability, like earthquakes, and the weight of its massive tiers. But for players, the altitude became a bit of a defining factor. Visiting teams often struggled with reduced oxygen levels, and playing at Estadio Azteca became a test of skills as well as stamina for teams unaccustomed to the conditions. The other challenge, the acoustics. The bowl further intensified the crowd noise and amplified it, producing the legendary Azteca roar. It became a psychological weapon, part of the stadium's identity, a force as intimidating as the altitude itself. Beyond engineering and sport, the stadium's location integrated into Mexico City's urban fabric. Situated in the Santa Ursula neighborhood, it quickly became a landmark not just for football, but for culture and community. Its presence reshaped the area, drawing commerce, transport links, and civic pride. It was a civic monument, a gathering place where national identity was performed and reinforced. By the late 1960s, Estadio Azteca was already a monumental achievement, but hosting the 1970 FIFA World Cup demanded refinements. Mexico wanted to be seen as a modern, technologically capable nation, and the stadium became the centerpiece of its ambition. Locker rooms were expanded, press areas modernized, and seating arrangements adjusted to accommodate international standards. But one of the most influential upgrades was the installation of broadcast infrastructure to deliver matches to a global audience, making it one of the first times millions could watch the World Cup games live in their homes. The upgrades represented a transformation in how football was consumed. Azteca became a global stage, its concrete bowl now wired with cameras, cables, and commentary booths. The stadium's identity shifted from a national monument to international broadcast hub, a place where Mexico's architectural vision met the demands of modern media. The 1970 FIFA World Cup marked Estadio Azteca's grand entrance onto the global stage. Only 4 years after Mexico had hosted the Olympics, the country was once again thrust into the international spotlight. And while Azteca was still relatively new, it became the centerpiece of the tournament. Its towering concrete tiers and high-altitude roar was broadcasted worldwide, introducing millions of viewers to a venue that seemed both futuristic and timeless. Mexico's aspirations for being an icon in sports would depend on its debut. The opening match on May 31st, 1970 would set the tone. Mexico drew a 0-0 against the Soviet Union, a tense game that perfectly showcased the stadium's intimidating atmosphere. The roar over 100,000 fans reverberated through the bowl, amplifying every tackle and near miss. For the Mexican team, the draw was bittersweet, but it was a massive success for Estadio Azteca. On June 3rd, Belgium defeated El Salvador 3-0, a match that highlighted Azteca's ability to host diverse international contests. And just days later, the Soviet Union returned to defeat Belgium 4-1, demonstrating tactical dominance under the glare of Azteca's floodlights. But Mexico's fortunes shifted dramatically on June 7th, when the national team thrilled its fans with a 4-0 victory over El Salvador. The stadium erupted in celebration, and the Azteca roar reached new heights as Mexico announced itself as a contender. On June 10th, the Soviet Union defeated El Salvador 2-0, while Mexico's 1-0 win over Belgium on June 11th secured advancement to the quarterfinals. The quarterfinal on June 14th brought Uruguay against the Soviet Union. In a tightly contested match, Uruguay took the 1-0 win, showcasing defensive resilience and tactical discipline. The game reflected Azteca's ability to magnify tension. Every clearance and counterattack seemed amplified by the stadium's acoustics. Then came June 17th. A moment that not only cemented itself in football's history, but was just what Estadio Azteca needed to secure its place as a global contender. Azteca hosted what would become one of the most legendary matches in football, Italy versus West Germany in the semi-final. The game ended 4-3 in favor of Italy after extra time, but the contest was so dramatic it was immediately dubbed the game of the century. Exhaustion, courage, and relentless attacking defined the spectacle, and Azteca's atmosphere elevated it into myth. The stadium became synonymous with football's greatest drama, its concrete bowl immortalized by the images of players collapsing in exhaustion on the final whistle. The climax arrived on June 21, 1970, when Brazil faced Italy in the World Cup final. With Pelé leading the charge, Brazil delivered a masterclass in attacking football, defeating Italy 4-1. Pelé's header opened the scoring, and his teammates added goals that showcased Brazil's artistry. For Pelé, it was a farewell to the World Cup stage, his third triumph sealing his legacy as the greatest of his era. Azteca became the backdrop for this coronation. The stadium's monumental design seemed to frame the spectacle, its concrete tiers echoing with the joy of Brazilian fans and the awe of the neutrals. The final confirmed Azteca's place as football's cathedral, a venue capable of hosting not just matches, but moments that define the sport itself. Shortly after the triumph of the 1970 World Cup, Azteca entered a period of maintenance and incremental improvement. The pitch was re-leveled and reinforced to withstand heavy use, and seats were adjusted to ensure comfort for the growing domestic audience. The changes were less dramatic than the ones made for the World Cup, but reflected a stadium learning to balance heritage with practicality. Azteca's reputation grew during this era, and Club America made the stadium its fortress, and the Mexican national team continued to draw massive crowds. The stadium's identity as a living monument solidified, no longer just a venue for the extraordinary events, but a daily stage for Mexican football. By the end of the tournament, Estadio Azteca had hosted 10 matches, including the opening game, semi-final, and the final. Its reputation was firmly cemented as a venue of unrivaled drama and spectacle. Both the game of the century and Pelé's farewell ensured that Azteca would forever be linked to football's golden narratives. 16 years after the triumph of the 1970 World Cup, Estadio Azteca once again became the centerpiece of global football. Though Colombia had originally been awarded the 1986 World Cup, political and economic instability forced its withdrawal. Mexico stepped forward and FIFA entrusted the nation with hosting duties for the second time. For Azteca, this was both a challenge and an opportunity. The stadium had to prove it could once again serve as the crucible of football history. Renovations included expanding seating capacity, modernized VIP areas, and upgraded lighting systems to meet global television standards. Press and media facilities were enhanced to handle the growing international demand, reflecting football's transformation into a global entertainment industry. But no one could have expected that these upgrades would set the stage for two of the most epic moments in football history. Azteca would go on to host 9 matches that year, including the legendary Argentina vs. England quarterfinal. The stadium's roar amplified Maradona's Hand of God and Goal of the Century, moments that cemented Azteca as a mythic status. The upgrades ensured Azteca was not just a venue, but a crucible where football's greatest drama unfolded. The tournament opened at Azteca on May 31, 1986, with Bulgaria drawing a 1-1 against the reigning champions Italy. The match set the tone for a tournament defined by drama and unpredictability. On June 3rd, Mexico electrified the home crowd with a 2-1 victory over Belgium, a result that reinforced Azteca's reputation as a fortress for a national team. Mexico continued its campaign of dominance with a 1-1 draw against Paraguay on June 7th, followed by a 1-0 victory over Iraq on June 11th. Each match showcased the stadium's unique atmosphere, the altitude testing players' stamina, the acoustics amplifying every cheer, and the roar of the Mexican fans transforming the venue into a cauldron of national pride. The round of 16 brought Mexico against Bulgaria on June 15th. The home side triumphed 2-0, sending the crowd into delirium and reinforcing the stadium's mythic aura. Just days later on June 18th, England defeated Paraguay 3-0, setting the stage for one of the most iconic matches in football history. On June 22, 1986, Estadio Azteca staged the quarterfinal that would forever define its legacy, Argentina vs. England. The match carried layers of tension beyond football. Only 4 years had passed since the controversial Falklands War, and the rivalry between the two nations added political and emotional weight to the contest. The stadium became the crucible where sport, history, and identity collided. Diego Maradona seized the moment with 2 goals that will forever remain etched into football's mythology. The first, the infamous Hand of God, saw him punch the ball past goalkeeper Peter Shilton. Massive outrage erupted among English players and fans, while Argentines celebrated the cunning as nothing short of divine intervention. The roar of Azteca amplified with controversy, echoing with disbelief and jubilation in equal measure. Only minutes later came the goal of the century. Collecting the ball in his own half, Maradona embarked on a dazzling solo run. dipping past 5 English defenders with balance, speed, and audacity before slotting the ball into the net. The stadium once again erupted and its concrete bowl transformed into a theater of genius. Commentators struggled to find words and fans knew instantly they had witnessed something transcendent. Azteca's atmosphere only magnified the drama. The stadium became inseparable from his artistry, immortalized as the stage where football transcended sport and entered mythology. Argentina went on to win 2-1, advancing to the semifinals, but the match itself became larger than the tournament. For England, it was a complete heartbreaker. For Argentina, it was a vindication and pride. For the world, it was proof that Estadio Azteca was not just a venue. It was the arena where football's greatest individual performances unfolded. On June 25th, Argentina returned to Azteca to face Belgium in the semi-final. Maradona once again delivered brilliance, scoring twice to secure a 2-0 victory. The stadium, now firmly associated with his artistry, seemed to embrace him as its chosen hero. The final on June 29th brought Argentina against West Germany. In front of a packed Azteca, Argentina triumphed 3-2, with Jorge Burruchaga scoring the decisive goal. Maradona as captain lifted the trophy, cementing his place in history and Azteca's reputation as the only stadium to host 2 World Cup finals. The 1986 World Cup elevated Estadio Azteca from iconic to legendary. 9 matches unfolded within its walls, but it was Maradona's quarterfinal masterpiece that defined the tournament and the stadium's identity. Azteca became synonymous with genius, controversy, and drama, the place where football's greatest individual performances unfolded. For Mexico, hosting a second World Cup reinforced its status as a global football power. For the world, Azteca became immortalized as the stage of Maradona's miracle, a venue that has now witnessed both Pele's farewell and Maradona's triumph. As football has entered a modern era, Azteca faced new challenges though. New safety regulations, fan expectations, and technological advances demanded continuous adaptation. Seating in certain sections was replaced with individual chairs, sadly reducing maximum capacity but improving comfort and compliance. Sound systems and video screens were installed, transforming the fan experience into a multimedia spectacle. Access points were expanded to handle larger crowds more efficiently, reflecting the stadium's role as both a sporting vehicle and a civic hub. As it has always done, Estadio Azteca evolved to match the expectations of the fans and world who saw it as a world-class stadium. It protected both its proud history and culture while adapting to the needs of the 21st century. The 2010s brought on a bit of luxury and hospitality upgrades as well. Azteca added club-level areas, refurbished interior spaces, and new luxury boxes crafted to corporate clients and international visitors. Unfortunately, the upgrades and modern luxuries come with the cost of further cuts to Azteca's seating capacity. And while fans saw it as a negative, it was a small price to pay to stay competitive and keep up with the expectations many fans had at the more modern stadium. The transformation, however, reflected the broader trends in football, namely commercialization, sponsorship, and blending of sports and entertainment. Yet Azteca retained its soul. The concrete bowl, the altitude, and the roar remained unchanged, preserving the stadium's identity as the interior has evolved. This campaign represents the culmination of Azteca's evolution. Far from its origins as a monumental bowl to its role as a modern entertainment hub, the stadium has continually adapted while retaining its identity. Even upcoming 2026 renovations will ensure Azteca will not only host matches, it will reaffirm its place as the most historic stage in the World Cup history. In 2026, Estadio Azteca will achieve a milestone unmatched in football history. It will become the first stadium to host matches in 3 different FIFA World Cups. Having already staged the finals of 1970 and 86, Azteca prepares itself to welcome a new generation of players and fans. It's an achievement that cements its status as football's most enduring cathedral, a venue that bridges eras and embodies the sport's continuity. And if you thought Mexico couldn't make it into its legendary stadium any better, you're absolutely wrong. Ahead of the 2026 World Cup, Estadio Azteca embarked on its most ambitious renovation yet. Plans included hybrid pitch technology for durability, redesigned seating and concourses for circulation, modernized locker rooms, and structural reinforcement to preserve the iconic bowl. LED screens, advanced lighting, and sound systems were installed, while VIP media and broadcast areas were expanded to meet FIFA's highest standards. Accessibility improvements ensured inclusivity, reflecting football's global reach. Estadio Azteca's role in 2026 is more than logistical, it's symbolic. Hosting matches across 3 World Cups demonstrates the stadium's resilience and relevance. In the history of stadiums, few venues have endured so long without losing their aura, and even fewer have still remained central to both national and global football. For Mexico, Azteca's 3rd World Cup is a source of immense pride, a reminder that the gamble of wanting to be respected around the world has paid off. For decades, Estadio Azteca has been the beating heart of Mexican football. It's the home of the Mexican national team and also where it plays its most important matches. Victories at Azteca carry symbolic weight, reinforcing the stadium's identity as a shrine of national pride. Club America, one of Mexico's most successful teams, has also made Azteca its home, ensuring that the stadium remains central to domestic football week after week. Generations of fans have grown up with Azteca as the backdrop to their sporting memories, making it inseparable from the nation's footballing identity. Like many other stadiums around the world, Azteca's significance extends beyond Mexican football. The stadium has hosted international friendlies, concave tournaments, and surprisingly even some NFL games, introducing American football to Mexican audiences. These events demonstrate the stadium's versatility and ability to adapt to different sporting cultures. For visiting athletes, playing at Azteca is a unique experience. Its altitude, acoustics, and sheer scale create conditions unlike any other venue. Concerts have also transformed Azteca into a cultural arena. Global icons such as Michael Jackson, U2, and Shakira have performed here, drawing crowds that rival the size of World Cup audiences. The stadium's monumental design amplifies sound as effectively as it amplifies crowd noise, turning concerts into unforgettable spectacles. Azteca's cultural significance lies in its ability to embody Mexico's identity. The stadium's roar is not just a noise, it is the sound of a nation asserting itself. For many Mexicans, attending a match at Azteca is a rite of passage, a moment of connection to both sport and country. What makes Azteca remarkable is its ability to remain relevant across decades. Renovations have modernized its facilities, but its essence remains unchanged. It is still the concrete volcano, roaring with history, and still the place where Mexico gathers to celebrate, protest, and remember. From its opening in 1966, Estadio Azteca's defining feature has been its monumental concrete bowl. And unlike many stadiums that have undergone radical redesigns, Azteca has retained its original from across decades. The vertical tiers, sweeping curves, and enveloping acoustics have remained unchanged, ensuring continuity of identity even as renovations have reshaped its interior. This preservation reflects a deliberate choice. Modernization must serve the stadium's essence, not erase it. While Azteca has undergone numerous renovation cycles, it has done so without dismantling its core. In the 1970s, broadcast infrastructure transformed Azteca into a global television stage. In the 1980s, the expanded seating and lighting upgrades prepared it as a surprise second World Cup. The 1990s and 2000s introduced individual seating, sound systems, and video boards, reducing raw capacity but enhancing comfort and safety. The 2010s brought luxury boxes and hospitality areas, aligning Azteca with global trends and commercialization. But despite all these changes, the stadium's silhouette remained constant. Fans entering the venue still encountered the same towering tiers and the same enveloping roar. Renovations modernized the experience but never compromised the stadium's monumental identity. Azteca's architectural evolution illustrates that delicate balance between heritage and modernization. Unlike Wembley Stadium in London, which was demolished and rebuilt, Azteca has chosen continuity. Its upgrades have been more additive rather than transformative, layering modern amenities onto its historic foundations. It's an approach that preserves the stadium's aura while ensuring relevance in the 21st century. The decision to retain the bowl reflects cultural priorities. For Mexico, Azteca is not just an infrastructure, it's a national symbol. Any kind of alterations to the form fans have known for decades would risk erasing collective memory. By preserving its architecture, Mexico safeguards the stadium's role as a living monument, ensuring that fans who enter today experience the same as ones who entered and witnessed Pele in 1970 or Maradona in 1986. This is how Azteca's architectural identity has endured across generations. For older fans, it is the same Colossus that hosted the game of the century, while for younger fans, it is a modern venue with LED screens and luxury seating. This dual identity, a well-balanced mixture of ancient and modern, monumental and comfortable, defines Azteca's uniqueness. Few stadiums can claim such continuity, and fewer still can claim that they have hosted more World Cup matches than any other. Estadio Azteca holds a distinction no other stadium can claim. It is the only venue to have hosted 2 FIFA World Cup finals, and soon with the upcoming 2026 tournament, it will be the first to host matches in 3 different World Cups. Across its history, Azteca has staged 19 World Cup matches, more than any other stadium in the world. This record alone elevates it into a category of its own, a venue synonymous with football's greatest stage. From its conception in the 1960s, Estadio Azteca has stood as one of football's most enduring monuments. Literally rising from volcanic soil at high altitude, it has been both a fortress and a cathedral, a place where architecture, cultural, and sports converge. Its concrete bowl has amplified the roar of generations, transforming matches into myths and victories into national memory. Across its decades, Azteca has hosted moments that define football's narrative. In 1970, Pele's unforgettable farewell and Brazil's artistry crowned the stadium as a global icon. In 1986, Diego Maradona's genius, the famous hand of God and goal of the century, immortalized Azteca as the crucible for both controversy and brilliance. Arguably no other stadium has carried such weight in shaping the sport's mythology. Yet, Azteca is more than just a stage for legends. For sports fans, it is Mexico's spiritual home, the fortress of its national team, the arena for Club America, and the gathering place for its concerts, civic rallies, and cultural events. Renovations have modernized its facilities, but its essence remains unchanged. The monumental bowl, the altitude, and the acoustics continue to define its character. Estadio Azteca is not simply a stadium, it is a living monument. It has endured as the concrete volcano of Mexico City, roaring with history and now preparing to welcome future stars of the world's favorite sport. Its story is one of continuity and transformation, of architecture and atmosphere, of sport and society. For generations of fans, players, and architects, Azteca remains unparalleled, inspiring awe and reverence as the eternal cathedral of the world's game.
When global football arrives on Canada's Pacific Coast in 2026, it will do so inside one of the most technically interesting stadiums in North America. Rising from the edge of False Creek in downtown Vancouver, BC Place is a stadium that has lived several architectural lives. It began as a futuristic dome in the early 1980s, survived decades of changing sports economics, and was reborn in the 2010s with one of the most recognizable retractable roofs in modern stadium design. For the FIFA World Cup 2026, BC Place will serve as Canada's western gateway to the tournament. Alongside Toronto, Vancouver will host matches that bring the world's largest sporting event to Canadian soil. Yet the stadium's story stretches far beyond a single tournament. It is a venue that reflects Vancouver itself, innovative, scenic, and constantly evolving. To understand why BC Place remains central to major global events more than 40 years after its opening, you have to examine its origins, its technological transformation, and its role in shaping Vancouver's sporting identity. BC Place first opened in 1983, at a time when indoor megastadiums were still relatively rare. The province of British Columbia wanted a flagship venue capable of hosting major international events, large sporting competitions, and concerts that previously bypassed the region. At the time of construction, the project represented one of the most ambitious stadium builds in Canadian history. The venue was designed with a massive air-supported dome, similar to structures that were emerging in North America during the late 20th century. The roof was held up by internal air pressure rather than traditional steel trusses, creating a vast, enclosed space without internal columns. This design allowed the stadium to accommodate roughly 60,000 spectators and remain weatherproof, an important feature in Vancouver's famously rainy climate. BC Place quickly became one of the most recognizable buildings in the country. Its bright white dome stood out against the glass towers of downtown Vancouver, turning the stadium into a defining element of the city's skyline. From the beginning, the venue was intended to be multi-purpose. It hosted football, soccer, large conventions, concerts, and major ceremonies. But its most important role would come from Canadian football. The stadium became home to the BC Lions of the Canadian Football League, giving the team a modern indoor venue that allowed games to be played comfortably regardless of weather conditions. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, BC Place became a central stage for major Canadian sporting events. The stadium hosted numerous Grey Cup championships. These events helped cement BC Place as a national sports venue rather than simply a regional stadium. But its biggest moment came decades later. In 2010, Vancouver hosted the 2010 Winter Olympics, and BC Place was chosen as the site for the opening and closing ceremonies. The global spotlight that accompanies the Olympic Games forced the stadium to undergo significant upgrades. Millions of viewers around the world saw BC Place transformed into a theatrical arena filled with elaborate stage designs, Olympic symbolism, and performances that celebrated Canadian culture. However, behind the spectacle was a building that was beginning to show its age. The air-supported roof, which had once been innovative, was increasingly viewed as outdated and expensive to maintain. By the end of the Olympic Games, it became clear that the stadium needed a fundamental transformation if it was to remain competitive with modern sports venues. In 2010, the province approved a massive renovation project that would completely redefine BC Place. The most dramatic change was the replacement of the original inflatable dome with a cable-supported, retractable roof system. When the project was completed in 2011, BC Place reopened with a new architectural identity. Instead of relying on air pressure, the new roof uses a network of steel cables arranged in a radial pattern around a central opening. A retractable fabric panel can slide open or closed, allowing the stadium to switch between indoor and open-air configurations. This design makes BC Place one of the few large retractable roof stadiums in North America. The roof itself quickly became a visual landmark. When illuminated at night, the cables and roof structure create a glowing crown over the stadium, visible across Vancouver's skyline. The redevelopment cost roughly 514 million Canadian dollars and effectively gave BC Place a second life. In 2011, another major tenant arrived at the stadium. Vancouver Whitecaps FC joined Major League Soccer that same year and moved into BC Place, transforming the venue into the center of professional soccer on Canada's west coast. For soccer matches, the stadium typically uses a reduced seating configuration that creates a more intimate atmosphere, though it can expand capacity for major events. Whitecaps matches helped establish a strong soccer culture in Vancouver, with supporters groups filling sections behind the goals and creating a lively environment. The club's presence also ensured that BC Place remained relevant in international soccer discussions, which later helped Vancouver secure matches for the 2026 World Cup. While soccer and Canadian football remain the stadium's primary tenants, BC Place has hosted an impressive range of events. The venue has held international rugby matches, including games during the Rugby 7 circuit. It has also hosted major concerts, bringing global music acts to Vancouver's downtown core. Large esports events and trade conventions have also taken place inside the stadium, demonstrating its flexibility as a modern event venue. The announcement that Vancouver would host matches for the 2026 World Cup confirmed BC Place's continued importance in international sport. Canada, the United States, and Mexico will jointly host the tournament, marking the first time the World Cup has been staged across 3 countries. Vancouver will be one of the Canadian host cities, and BC Place will stage several matches during the tournament. For FIFA, the stadium offers several advantages. First, its retractable roof ensures predictable playing conditions regardless of weather. Vancouver's climate can be unpredictable, but the roof guarantees that matches can proceed without disruption. Second, the stadium's location in downtown Vancouver provides easy access to public transportation, hotels, and fan zones along the waterfront. Third, the stadium's capacity, around 54,500 after renovation, fits comfortably within FIFA's hosting requirements for group stage and knockout matches. Leading up to the tournament, BC Place is undergoing further upgrades to ensure compliance with FIFA standards. These improvements include broadcast infrastructure, hospitality areas, and fan facilities. When the World Cup arrives, BC Place will be transformed into a global football stage capable of hosting fans from around the world. One of BC Place's most distinctive features is its relationship with the surrounding city. Unlike many modern stadiums that are isolated by vast parking lots, BC Place sits directly within Vancouver's downtown core. It is surrounded by residential towers, entertainment districts, and waterfront promenades. The nearby Rogers Arena, home of the NHL's Vancouver Canucks, creates a sports district within the city center. This urban integration reflects Vancouver's broader planning philosophy, which prioritizes walkability and public transit. For international visitors attending World Cup matches, the stadium's location will provide an experience unlike many North American sports venues. Fans will be able to step out of the stadium and immediately find themselves in the heart of a vibrant city. Modern stadiums are increasingly defined by technology, and BC Place has kept pace with those expectations. The stadium features advanced LED lighting systems, capable of dynamic color displays that transform the building's exterior. Its large video boards provide high-definition replays and match graphics, while upgraded sound systems ensure that announcements and music reach every corner of the venue. Connectivity has also become a priority. High-capacity Wi-Fi networks allow tens of thousands of fans to remain connected during events, sharing photos and videos in real time. These features may seem standard today, but they represent a significant evolution from the stadium's original 1983 design. Many stadiums built in the late 20th century have already been demolished or replaced. BC Place avoided that fate by embracing reinvention. Rather than abandoning the structure entirely, British Columbia chose to modernize it. The massive roof renovation and interior upgrades transformed the venue from a relic of the 1980s into a stadium capable of hosting 21st century events. When the World Cup begins in 2026, BC Place will once again step into the global spotlight. Fans from across the world will enter the stadium, many seeing Vancouver for the first time. For Vancouver, the tournament represents an opportunity to showcase the city's culture, landscape, and passion for sport. For BC Place, it will be another chapter in a long history of hosting events that bring the world to Canada. Long after the final World Cup match is played in Vancouver, BC Place will continue serving as a central venue for Canadian sport. The stadium will remain home to the BC Lions and Vancouver Whitecaps, while continuing to host concerts, international competitions, and community events. More importantly, the tournament will leave behind improved infrastructure, upgraded facilities, and a generation of new soccer fans across the region. For a stadium that first opened more than 4 decades ago, that longevity is remarkable. BC Place has proven that with the right vision and the willingness to evolve, a stadium can remain relevant far longer than anyone originally imagined. And in 2026, when the world arrives in Vancouver for football's biggest tournament, the stadium will once again stand at the center of it all. In the modern landscape of American sports architecture, few stadiums represent a true turning point quite like NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas. Long before retractable roofs became standard in warm weather markets, Houston was experimenting with a bold idea. What if a stadium could provide the comfort of an indoor arena while preserving the atmosphere of an outdoor game? The result was a venue that blended engineering ambition with practical necessity, creating one of the most influential stadiums of the early 21st century. The story of NRG Stadium begins with the collapse of an earlier Houston icon, the Astrodome. Opened in 1965, the Astrodome had once been called the 8th wonder of the world. It was the first fully enclosed, domed stadium in history, a revolutionary piece of architecture that allowed baseball and football to be played in Houston's notoriously hot and humid climate. But by the 1990s, the Astrodome was beginning to show its age. Professional sports were entering a new financial era where stadium revenue, from corporate suites, sponsorships, and hospitality areas, became critical to team economics. Houston needed something new. In 1997, voters in Harris County approved a public financing plan to construct a modern football stadium adjacent to the Astrodome. The project would become the centerpiece of what is now known as NRG Park, a massive entertainment complex that also includes convention space and exhibition halls. Construction began in 1999 with architectural design led by Populous, then known as HOK Sport, alongside Hermes Reed Architects and Lockwood, Andrews and Newnham as the engineering firm. Their challenge was to build a stadium that could compete with the most advanced venues in the country, while still respecting Houston's legacy as the birthplace of indoor stadiums. The stadium officially opened in 2002, originally under the name Reliant Stadium, becoming the new home of the Houston Texans, the NFL's newest franchise at the time. One of the defining features of NRG Stadium is its retractable roof, which represented a significant leap in stadium design when it debuted. The roof consists of 2 massive panels made of steel trusses and translucent material that can slide open or closed depending on weather conditions. When fully opened, the stadium allows sunlight and fresh air to enter the bowl, creating an outdoor football experience. When closed, it transforms into a climate-controlled indoor arena, capable of handling Houston's extreme summer heat. The roof panels travel along rails that span the length of the stadium, covering an opening approximately 500 feet long. The system takes roughly 7 minutes to open or close completely, an impressive feat given the enormous weight of the moving structure. This hybrid approach was designed specifically for Houston's climate. Summers regularly push temperatures well above 35 degrees Celsius, 95 degrees Fahrenheit, with intense humidity, conditions that would make outdoor games uncomfortable for players and fans alike. The retractable roof solved this problem while maintaining flexibility for different types of events. The stadium also features a massive natural grass playing surface, which is rolled into the stadium for football games and replaced for other events when necessary. Maintaining natural grass inside a retractable roof environment requires sophisticated agronomy management, including specialized lighting and ventilation systems. NRG Stadium was designed with scale in mind. The venue typically holds about 72,000 fans, but can be expanded to accommodate over 80,000 spectators for major events such as the Super Bowl or international soccer matches. The seating bowl is divided into multiple tiers, including lower bowl seating close to the field, club seating areas with premium amenities, over 190 luxury suites, upper deck seating with panoramic views of the field, The stadium also introduced extensive hospitality spaces, including club lounges, premium dining areas, and corporate entertainment suites. These features became increasingly important in modern stadium economics, allowing teams to generate revenue beyond standard ticket sales. Technology also plays a major role in the fan experience. NRG Stadium includes high-definition video boards, advanced sound systems, and digital connectivity designed to handle large crowds. Over the years, the stadium has undergone various upgrades to maintain modern standards, including improved Wi-Fi networks and upgraded concession systems. Despite its size, the stadium's bowl design helps keep fans relatively close to the action. The steep seating angles create strong sightlines, ensuring that even spectators in the upper decks maintain a clear view of the field. Since its opening in 2002, NRG Stadium has served as the home of the Houston Texans, the NFL franchise established after the departure of the Houston Oilers in the late 1990s. The Texans quickly developed a strong fan base, and the stadium became a central part of Houston's sports culture. Tailgating traditions thrive in the massive parking lots surrounding the venue, where thousands of fans gather hours before kickoff. Over the years, the stadium has hosted numerous memorable moments in Texans history, from playoff appearances to dramatic divisional rivalries within the AFC South. While the team has yet to capture a Super Bowl championship, NRG Stadium remains one of the loudest and most energetic venues in the NFL on game days. Beyond football, NRG Stadium has built a reputation as a premier host for some of the world's largest sporting events. Perhaps most notably, the stadium has hosted 2 Super Bowls: Super Bowl 38, 2004, Super Bowl 51, 2017. The 2017 game became one of the most famous in NFL history, when the New England Patriots completed a historic comeback from a 28-3 deficit to defeat the Atlanta Falcons in overtime. NRG Stadium has also hosted the NCAA Men's Final Four basketball tournament, major international soccer matches, high-profile concerts and entertainment events, the annual Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, one of the largest rodeo events in the world. The rodeo alone attracts more than 2 million visitors annually, temporarily transforming the stadium into a massive arena for livestock competitions, rodeo performances, and country music concerts. This versatility is one of the stadium's greatest strengths. Few venues in the United States can shift so easily between professional football, global soccer, and large-scale cultural events. Although primarily known as an NFL stadium, NRG Stadium has a long history with international soccer. The venue has hosted numerous CONCACAF Gold Cup matches, international friendlies, and high-profile exhibition games featuring clubs from Europe and Latin America. Houston's diverse population and strong soccer culture have made the city an ideal location for major international matches. The stadium's large capacity and retractable roof make it particularly attractive for FIFA events, providing both scale and climate control for players and spectators. This experience helped position Houston as a natural candidate when FIFA began selecting host cities for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the first tournament to be jointly hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico. When FIFA finalized its list of host venues for the 2026 World Cup, NRG Stadium was selected as one of the key stadiums in the United States portion of the tournament. Houston's selection was driven by several factors: a large and diverse international population, strong infrastructure and transportation networks, proven experience hosting global sporting events, a stadium capable of accommodating massive crowds. During the tournament, the stadium will temporarily adopt a neutral FIFA naming convention, meaning the venue will likely be referred to simply as Houston Stadium during official broadcasts and event materials. This renaming practice is standard for the World Cup because FIFA does not allow stadium naming rights that conflict with its official sponsors. NRG Stadium is expected to host multiple group stage matches and possibly games in the knockout rounds, bringing fans from around the world to Houston. For the city, the tournament represents a major opportunity. World Cup matches attract enormous international audiences and generate significant economic activity through tourism, hospitality, and global media exposure. More than 2 decades after its opening, NRG Stadium remains an important chapter in the evolution of American sports architecture. It represents a transitional moment between the fully enclosed, domed stadiums of the 20th century and the modern generation of retractable roof venues that prioritize flexibility and fan comfort. And in 2026, the stadium will once again step onto the world stage. For a few weeks that summer, the field inside NRG Stadium will no longer belong solely to American football. Instead, it will become part of the global stage of the FIFA World Cup, where national teams compete for the most prestigious trophy in the sport. In a city known for innovation, from space exploration to energy production, it seems fitting that Houston's stadium continues to play a role in shaping the future of global sports. When the world arrives in Texas in 2026, NRG Stadium will be ready once again. On the southern edge of Los Angeles, just a few miles from the runways of LAX, an enormous structure rises from what was once a defunct racetrack. From the air, it looks less like a traditional stadium and more like a futuristic campus. A sweeping roof hovering above an open-air bowl, surrounded by plazas, parks, and water features. This is SoFi Stadium, the centerpiece of the Hollywood Park redevelopment project, and one of the most ambitious sports venues ever constructed. In a city known for spectacle, SoFi Stadium had to achieve something extraordinary, simply to stand out. Los Angeles already had iconic venues like the Rose Bowl and the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, each tied deeply to American sports history. Yet SoFi Stadium was conceived not as a replacement for those historic arenas, but as a new type of venue altogether, one designed for a 21st century entertainment economy, where sports, concerts, media production, and global events merge into a single ecosystem. Completed in 2020 after 4 years of construction, the stadium instantly became one of the most technologically advanced and architecturally ambitious venues on the planet. It is home to 2 NFL teams, the Los Angeles Rams and the Los Angeles Chargers, and it has already hosted some of the largest events in modern sports. But beyond the games themselves, SoFi Stadium represents something larger, a shift in how stadiums are designed, financed, and integrated into the urban fabric around them. The origins of SoFi Stadium can be traced back to the long and complicated history of professional football in Los Angeles. For more than 2 decades, the NFL's second largest media market had no team at all. The Rams left for St. Louis in 1995, and the Raiders returned to Oakland that same year, leaving a massive sports vacuum in Southern California. By the early 2010s, the league began exploring ways to bring the NFL back to Los Angeles. Several competing stadium proposals emerged across the region, but one idea quickly gained momentum: redeveloping the site of the former Hollywood Park racetrack in Inglewood. The racetrack had operated since 1938 and had long been one of California's premier horse racing venues. But by the early 21st century, racing attendance had declined sharply. Hollywood Park closed permanently in 2013, leaving behind a massive 300-acre property in a rapidly developing part of Los Angeles County. Real estate developer and Los Angeles Rams owner Stan Kroenke saw the opportunity immediately. Rather than simply building a stadium, Kroenke envisioned an entire entertainment district, a sports and media hub that could rival some of the most ambitious mixed-use developments in the United States. The result would become Hollywood Park, a multi-billion-dollar urban development featuring residential buildings, office towers, retail spaces, parks, and a 6,000-seat performance venue. At the center of it all would be the stadium itself, a structure that needed to be large enough, flexible enough, and technologically advanced enough to host everything from NFL games to global mega events. To turn that vision into reality, Kroenke hired the global architecture firm HKS, working alongside engineers from Walter P. Moore and landscape designers from Studio MLA. Their challenge was not simply to design a football stadium. Instead, they were asked to create a venue that could function simultaneously as a sports arena, concert venue, television studio, and civic gathering space. The architectural solution that emerged was radically different from most stadium designs. At first glance, the most striking feature is the massive translucent roof canopy that stretches over the entire complex. Instead of sitting directly on the stadium structure, the roof floats above it like a giant sail, covering not only the seating bowl, but also the surrounding plazas and pedestrian spaces. The canopy spans nearly 3.1 million square feet, making it one of the largest roof structures ever built for a sports venue. It is constructed from ETFE panels, a lightweight, transparent material commonly used in modern stadium design because it allows natural light to pass through while protecting the structure from weather. Unlike fully enclosed domed stadiums, SoFi Stadium remains open air on the sides, allowing breezes from the Pacific Ocean to move through the venue. The result is a hybrid environment, sheltered from rain or intense sun, yet still connected to the outdoors. This design also creates one of the stadium's most visually distinctive elements, the enormous curved roofline that appears to hover above the building. Another unusual feature of SoFi Stadium lies beneath the surface. Because the site sits directly under the flight path of nearby Los Angeles International Airport, federal aviation regulations limited how tall the stadium could be. Rather than reducing the scale of the project, engineers took a different approach. They built a large portion of the stadium below ground level. The playing field itself sits approximately 100 feet below street level, creating a massive sunken bowl carved into the earth. This solution allowed the stadium to maintain a dramatic roofline while still meeting strict aviation height restrictions. Excavating such a deep structure required removing millions of cubic yards of soil and building an extensive drainage system to protect the venue from flooding. The engineering challenge was enormous, but it ultimately allowed the architects to achieve the stadium's distinctive silhouette. SoFi Stadium was designed to accommodate large crowds while maintaining flexibility for different types of events. For NFL games, the stadium typically seats around 70,000 spectators, but the design allows that number to expand to over 100,000 for major events such as the Super Bowl or international tournaments. The seating bowl is arranged across multiple levels, with a heavy emphasis on premium hospitality spaces, a hallmark of modern stadium economics. These include luxury suites, field-level club seating, VIP lounges, exclusive hospitality clubs, private terraces overlooking the field. In addition to these premium areas, the stadium also features wide concourses, open viewing platforms, and expansive public gathering spaces designed to improve the overall fan experience. Because the roof canopy covers the surrounding plazas, many of these outdoor areas remain shaded and usable even during hot Southern California afternoons. Inside the stadium, the most famous feature is impossible to miss. Suspended above the field is the Samsung Infinity screen, commonly referred to as the Oculus. This massive, double-sided video board wraps around the field in an oval shape, allowing fans in every section of the stadium to see high-definition replays and graphics. At 120 yards long and nearly 70,000 square feet, it is one of the largest video displays ever installed in a sports venue. The screen hangs from the roof structure rather than resting on supports, creating the impression that it floats above the field. Its design allows both the upper and lower levels of seating to have clear views of the display. The Oculus has become one of SoFi Stadium's defining visual elements and a centerpiece for broadcasts, concerts, and major sporting events. Construction of SoFi Stadium began in late 2016 and quickly became one of the most expensive stadium projects in history. Originally estimated at around $2.6 billion, the total cost eventually climbed to approximately $5 billion when accounting for the stadium itself and its surrounding infrastructure. Several factors contributed to the escalating price: the complexity of the roof structure, extensive underground excavation, advanced digital infrastructure, large-scale landscaping and water features, integration with the broader Hollywood Park development. Despite the enormous cost, the project was largely privately financed by Kroenke and his development group, making it one of the most ambitious privately funded sports projects ever undertaken. By the time construction finished in 2020, more than 17,000 workers had participated in the project, making it one of the largest building efforts in California history. SoFi Stadium officially opened in September 2020, though the debut came under unusual circumstances. The COVID-19 pandemic meant that the first NFL season played in the stadium occurred without fans in attendance. While the empty stands created an eerie atmosphere, the venue quickly demonstrated its capabilities as a broadcast and entertainment hub. The stadium's advanced lighting systems, digital displays, and camera infrastructure made it one of the most visually striking venues ever used for televised sports. Fans were finally allowed into the stadium during the 2021 NFL season, marking the first time the venue experienced a full crowd. Just 2 years after opening, SoFi Stadium hosted one of the biggest sporting events in the world, Super Bowl 56 in February 2022. In a remarkable coincidence, the Los Angeles Rams became only the second team in NFL history to play the Super Bowl in their home stadium. And they won the game, defeating the Cincinnati Bengals. The event showcased the stadium's capabilities on a global stage. From the massive video board to the dramatic roof canopy glowing under night lighting, SoFi Stadium quickly became one of the most recognizable sports venues in the world. While football remains its primary tenet, SoFi Stadium was designed with much broader ambitions. The venue has already hosted some of the largest concerts in modern music, with artists like Taylor Swift and BTS drawing enormous crowds. The stadium's ability to accommodate large stage productions, combined with its massive video display and advanced acoustics, has made it a preferred location for global tours. SoFi Stadium will soon play another major role on the international stage. In 2026, the United States, Canada, and Mexico will jointly host the FIFA World Cup, the largest sporting event in the world. Los Angeles is one of the host cities, and SoFi Stadium will serve as the primary venue for matches in the region. Because FIFA prohibits corporate naming rights during the tournament, the venue will temporarily operate under a neutral title, Los Angeles Stadium. The stadium's large capacity, modern infrastructure, and global broadcast capabilities make it an ideal venue for the tournament. One of the most important aspects of SoFi Stadium is that it does not exist in isolation. The stadium is surrounded by the Hollywood Park development, which continues to grow years after the venue opened. The district includes office spaces for media companies, residential housing, retail areas, parks, and performance venues. By combining sports, entertainment, housing, and business spaces in a single development, Hollywood Park aims to transform Inglewood into one of Southern California's most dynamic entertainment hubs. SoFi Stadium's global role will not end with the World Cup. In 2028, Los Angeles will host the Summer Olympic Games, and the stadium will serve as the venue for the opening and closing ceremonies, sharing responsibilities with the historic Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. This dual-venue concept will connect Los Angeles's past and future, the Coliseum representing nearly a century of Olympic history, and SoFi Stadium representing the next generation of stadium architecture. SoFi Stadium stands at the intersection of sports, technology, and urban development. From its floating roof canopy to its enormous video display, nearly every aspect of the venue was built to push the boundaries of what a stadium could be. And while the project's massive price tag sparked debate, its influence on stadium design is already evident. It is not just another arena. It is a statement about what stadiums are becoming. Not just places to watch sports, but destinations designed to shape entire cities. When the FIFA World Cup 2026 arrives in North America, the tournament will stretch across 3 countries, dozens of cities, and some of the largest sports venues ever used for international football. Among them, one stadium will carry particular symbolic weight for the United States. Located just a few miles from Manhattan, this venue, home to the New York Giants and New York Jets of the National Football League, is scheduled to host the final match of the expanded 48-team World Cup. For a stadium originally built for American football, that transformation into the centerpiece of the world's biggest sporting event represents the culmination of more than a decade of planning, engineering, and strategic positioning. To understand why the stadium was chosen and what role it will play in 2026, you have to look at its origins, its design philosophy, its location within the New York metropolitan region, and the modifications required to turn an NFL venue into a global football stage. MetLife Stadium opened in 2010 as a replacement for the old Giants Stadium, which had stood on the same Meadowlands site since 1976. Unlike most major stadium projects in the United States, this facility was privately financed by its 2 NFL tenants, the Giants and Jets. The total construction cost was approximately $1.6 billion, making it one of the most expensive stadiums ever built at the time. The concept behind the project was unusual. Instead of building separate stadiums for each team, the 2 franchises agreed to share a single facility. This required extensive coordination between ownership groups and designers to ensure that both organizations could maintain their distinct identities inside the same structure. The architecture firm 360 Architecture, now part of HOK, led the design, while Skanska served as the construction manager. Their goal was to create a stadium flexible enough to transform visually depending on which team was playing, Interior lighting systems, digital signage, and even certain architectural accents can shift colors to reflect either the Giants' blue palette or the Jets' green branding. When the stadium opened in April 2010, it immediately became the largest NFL stadium by seating capacity, holding approximately 82,500 spectators. That size, combined with its proximity to New York City, would later prove critical when FIFA evaluated potential venues for the 2026 tournament. Although MetLife Stadium sits, technically, in New Jersey, its role within the broader New York metropolitan area cannot be overstated. For international events like the World Cup, this geographic positioning offers enormous advantages. Within a 1-hour radius of the stadium are 3 major international airports: John F. Kennedy International Airport, LaGuardia Airport, and Newark Liberty International Airport, providing direct connections to cities across Europe, Asia, Africa, and South America. Transportation access also played a role in the stadium's selection. The Meadowlands Sports Complex is connected to New Jersey Transit rail lines, regional highways, and extensive bus networks that can move tens of thousands of spectators efficiently during major events. For FIFA, staging the World Cup final near New York carries symbolic and commercial significance. It places the tournament's most important match in a location capable of attracting global media attention and tourism at an unparalleled scale. Unlike many modern stadiums that emphasize dramatic architectural flourishes, MetLife Stadium was designed with practicality and scale as its primary objectives. The structure is essentially a massive rectangular bowl wrapped in a lightweight aluminum and glass facade. The outer shell consists of horizontal louvers that change appearance depending on lighting conditions. During the day, the facade reflects sunlight and gives the building a metallic sheen. At night, LED lighting systems illuminate the exterior, creating dynamic visual effects that can shift colors based on events inside the venue. Inside the stadium, the seating bowl is divided into 4 main tiers, with suites and club areas strategically placed between levels. The design emphasizes unobstructed sightlines, ensuring that spectators in nearly every section have clear views of the field. One notable feature is the stadium's open-air configuration. Unlike many newer NFL venues with retractable roofs, MetLife Stadium does not have a permanent roof structure. Instead, it features a partial canopy that covers portions of the seating areas while leaving the playing surface exposed to the elements. This decision reduced construction costs and simplified the engineering requirements, but it also means that weather conditions, rain, wind, or extreme heat, can influence events held there. The stadium typically uses a synthetic turf system designed to withstand the heavy usage associated with American football. However, FIFA requires natural grass surfaces for World Cup matches. To accommodate this requirement, organizers will install a temporary natural grass field specifically engineered for the tournament. This process involves removing sections of the artificial turf and placing a specially cultivated grass system designed to maintain stability under intense play. The technology behind these temporary pitches has improved dramatically in recent years. Similar systems were used successfully during international friendlies and tournaments in other multi-purpose stadiums around the world. Grounds crews must carefully monitor soil moisture, sunlight exposure, and root stability to ensure the pitch meets FIFA's strict performance standards. MetLife Stadium's official capacity of roughly 82,500 seats makes it one of the largest stadiums in the United States. For the World Cup, FIFA may slightly adjust seating configurations to accommodate media areas, broadcast infrastructure, and security zones. Large-scale tournaments require enormous logistical support beyond the playing field. Thousands of journalists, broadcast technicians, and tournament staff will operate inside the venue during each match. To manage this, the stadium contains extensive media facilities, including broadcast booths, press conference rooms, and dedicated camera platforms. Fiber optic networks run throughout the building, allowing high-definition video signals to be transmitted globally in real time. Luxury suites and hospitality areas also play an important role. Corporate sponsors and international dignitaries will occupy many of these spaces during the tournament, turning the stadium into both a sporting venue and a global business hub. Long before being selected for the World Cup final, MetLife Stadium had already established itself as one of the busiest large venues in North America. The stadium hosted Super Bowl 48 in 2014, marking the first time the NFL's championship game was held outdoors in a cold weather city. Despite concerns about winter conditions, the event was widely considered a success and demonstrated the venue's ability to handle massive international media attention. Beyond football, the stadium has hosted major concerts featuring artists such as Beyoncé, Taylor Swift, and Ed Sheeran. It has also staged international soccer matches involving clubs like Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Manchester United. These events served as practical tests for how the stadium operates when hosting large, global audiences. When FIFA evaluated potential venues for the 2026 tournament, dozens of stadiums across the United States, Canada, and Mexico were considered. Ultimately, only 16 venues were selected. MetLife Stadium's combination of capacity, location, and infrastructure made it one of the strongest candidates. Its ability to host large events had already been proven through the Super Bowl and numerous international matches. In 2024, FIFA confirmed that the stadium would host the World Cup final, one of the most prestigious assignments in global sport. During the tournament, FIFA will temporarily rename the venue New York, New Jersey Stadium, following the organization's policy of removing commercial naming rights during official competitions. Although the stadium remains relatively modern, several upgrades are being implemented ahead of the tournament. These include improvements to security systems, expanded media workspaces, and enhancements to digital connectivity. Stadium operators are also upgrading concession areas and crowd management technology to handle the enormous influx of international visitors. Transportation planning is another major component. Local authorities are coordinating with regional transit agencies to ensure trains and buses can handle the expected surge in passengers during match days. Security operations will involve multiple federal, state, and local agencies working together to manage crowd safety and counter-terrorism measures. Hosting the World Cup final is expected to generate significant economic benefits for the New York and New Jersey region. Hotels across the metropolitan area will experience a surge in bookings, while restaurants, retail stores, and entertainment venues will see increased tourist spending. Major sporting events often bring billions of dollars in economic activity to host regions. Local governments also hope the tournament will strengthen the region's reputation as a global destination for major sporting events. Beyond economics, the World Cup carries cultural importance. Football, known as soccer in the United States, has grown dramatically in popularity over the past 2 decades. Leagues like Major League Soccer have expanded rapidly, while the U.S. national teams continue to attract larger audiences. Hosting the World Cup final near New York symbolizes the sport's rising influence within the American sports landscape. It places the global game at the center of one of the country's most iconic metropolitan regions. For many fans, the tournament represents a once-in-a-generation opportunity to witness world-class football without traveling overseas. During the 2026 tournament, MetLife Stadium will host multiple matches leading up to the final. These games will feature teams from around the world competing in the expanded 48-team format. By the time the final arrives, the stadium will have become one of the focal points of the entire tournament. After the World Cup concludes, MetLife Stadium will return to its regular role as the home of the Giants and Jets. However, the legacy of hosting the tournament's final will remain part of its identity. The exposure generated by the event could lead to additional international matches and large-scale sporting events in the future. For the stadium itself, the World Cup represents both a milestone and a validation of the design decisions made during its construction. A facility originally built for American football will have successfully adapted to host the biggest football match on the planet. MetLife Stadium was never intended to be an architectural monument in the way some newer stadiums are. Instead, it was designed as a massive, efficient venue capable of accommodating huge crowds and a wide range of events. That practical approach has ultimately positioned it perfectly for the 2026 World Cup. With its enormous capacity, strategic location near New York City, and proven ability to host global spectacles, the stadium will provide an appropriate stage for the tournament's most important match. Rising from the west side of downtown Atlanta, the stadium was designed not simply to replace an older venue, but to redefine what a 21st century stadium could be. From its retractable roof that unfolds like a mechanical camera lens, to its massive circular video board suspended above the field, the building was conceived as both an engineering landmark and a cultural centerpiece. When the stadium hosts matches during the 2026 FIFA World Cup, It will represent more than just another stop in the tournament. It will be a showcase of how stadium design has evolved, combining technology, spectacle, and urban integration into a venue capable of welcoming the world. Before Mercedes-Benz Stadium dominated Atlanta's skyline, the city's football identity revolved around the Georgia Dome. Opened in 1992, the Georgia Dome was one of the first major fully enclosed stadiums in the United States and served as the home of the Atlanta Falcons for more than 2 decades. The Dome had hosted enormous events during its lifespan, including the 1996 Olympic Games and the Super Bowl 34. Yet by the early 2010s, the building was beginning to show its age. Stadium technology had advanced dramatically, and owners across major leagues were investing billions in new venues designed for entertainment as much as sport. Falcons owner Arthur Blank believed Atlanta needed a next-generation stadium if the city wanted to remain competitive for major global events. Blank, co-founder of the Home Depot, had already transformed the Falcons into a modern sports brand and wanted a stadium capable of hosting everything from NFL championships to international soccer. In 2012, plans for a replacement facility began taking shape. The idea was ambitious: a technologically advanced stadium located adjacent to the Georgia Dome that would transform the entire downtown sports district. Construction officially began in May 2014. The stadium was designed primarily by the architecture firm HOK, working alongside the Atlanta-based firm TVS Design. Their vision was bold and unmistakable. Instead of a traditional dome or sliding roof panels, the architects created one of the most complex roof systems ever installed on a stadium. The retractable roof consists of 8 triangular panels that rotate open like the aperture of a camera lens. When fully opened, the roof creates a circular opening above the field, framing the Atlanta skyline. The engineering behind this system required an enormous steel framework and precise mechanical synchronization. Each panel weighs hundreds of tons, and the movement of the roof must remain perfectly coordinated to avoid structural stress. Construction ultimately cost approximately $1.6 billion, making it one of the most expensive stadiums ever built in the United States. After more than 3 years of work, the stadium officially opened in August 2017. Just a few months later, the Georgia Dome was demolished, leaving Mercedes-Benz Stadium as the new centerpiece of Atlanta sports. Mercedes-Benz Stadium was designed to be flexible depending on the sport being played. For American football, the stadium seats roughly 71,000 spectators, but it can expand to approximately 75,000 seats for major events such as the Super Bowl or the World Cup. For soccer matches, the lower bowl configuration creates a more intimate environment while still accommodating massive crowds. When Atlanta United plays in full stadium mode, attendance frequently surpasses 70,000, one of the largest regular soccer crowds anywhere in the world. Seat design and spacing were carefully engineered to improve comfort compared with older stadiums. The seats are wider than typical American stadium seating, and sightlines were optimized using digital modeling to ensure that every section maintains clear visibility of the field. The stadium's interior is also dominated by one of its most famous features, the halo board. Suspended beneath the roof is a circular 360-degree video screen that wraps around the stadium opening. Stretching nearly 1,100 feet in circumference, it is one of the largest video displays ever installed in a sports venue. Instead of a traditional scoreboard hanging above the field, the halo board creates an immersive visual environment where replays, statistics, and graphics surround the audience. The design gives the stadium a futuristic aesthetic rarely seen in traditional sports venues. Mercedes-Benz Stadium serves as the home for 2 professional teams, the NFL's Atlanta Falcons and Major League Soccer's Atlanta United FC. For the Falcons, the stadium represented a new era. The franchise had spent decades searching for consistent success, and the move into a modern venue was part of a broader organizational transformation. The stadium also introduced a fan-friendly pricing model for concessions, with unusually low food prices designed to make attending games more accessible. Atlanta United, however, quickly became one of the stadium's most remarkable success stories. Founded in 2017, the MLS expansion team immediately began attracting massive crowds. Within its first season, Atlanta United set attendance records for Major League Soccer, regularly filling the stadium with over 70,000 fans. This made Mercedes-Benz Stadium one of the most electrifying soccer environments in North America. The team captured its first championship in 2018, winning the MLS Cup 2018 in front of a packed home crowd. That victory cemented Atlanta as one of the most passionate soccer cities in the United States. In only a few years of operation, Mercedes-Benz Stadium has already hosted a remarkable list of major events. Perhaps the most famous was the Super Bowl 53, held in February 2019. The game brought a global television audience to Atlanta and demonstrated the stadium's ability to handle events on the largest possible scale. The venue has also hosted College Football Playoff National Championship games, SEC Championship games, international soccer friendlies, massive concerts and entertainment events. Because of its retractable roof and climate-controlled environment, the stadium is capable of hosting events year-round, regardless of weather conditions. Its infrastructure, including media facilities, broadcast connectivity, and transportation access, makes it particularly attractive for international tournaments. All of these factors played a major role in Atlanta being selected as a host city for the 2026 World Cup. Atlanta has a long relationship with global sporting events. The city hosted the 1996 Summer Olympics and has repeatedly proven capable of managing the logistical demands of international competitions. When FIFA began evaluating potential venues for the 2026 tournament, jointly hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico, Atlanta quickly emerged as a strong candidate. Mercedes-Benz Stadium offered several advantages: a retractable roof and climate-controlled environment, massive seating capacity suitable for World Cup matches, a downtown location with strong transportation infrastructure, a proven track record hosting global sporting events. FIFA officially announced Atlanta as one of the host cities in 2022. The stadium will stage multiple matches during the tournament, including high-profile knockout rounds. Although Mercedes-Benz Stadium is already one of the most advanced stadiums in the world, hosting the World Cup requires additional adjustments. For FIFA tournaments, stadiums temporarily operate under different naming rules. Corporate naming rights are removed during the event, meaning the stadium will be referred to simply as Atlanta Stadium throughout the tournament. Minor renovations and operational updates have also been implemented to meet FIFA's strict tournament standards. These adjustments include broadcast infrastructure upgrades, temporary seating adjustments, and expanded media facilities. Because the stadium already hosts large international soccer crowds through Atlanta United, the transition to World Cup matches is expected to be relatively seamless. One of the most fascinating aspects of Mercedes-Benz Stadium is how naturally it has adapted to soccer. Unlike many American football stadiums retrofitted for international tournaments, the field dimensions at Mercedes-Benz Stadium can easily accommodate FIFA regulation pitches. The stadium's steep seating bowl also places fans close to the field, creating an atmosphere similar to major European venues. This design has helped Atlanta develop a reputation as one of the most energetic soccer environments in North America. When World Cup matches arrive in 2026, the stadium will likely be filled with fans from across the globe, creating a blend of cultures, languages, and football traditions under one roof. Outside the stadium stands another iconic feature, a massive bronze falcon statue. The sculpture depicts a falcon with wings fully extended, gripping an American football in its talons. It is the largest freestanding bird sculpture in the world and has quickly become one of Atlanta's most photographed landmarks. The statue represents the Falcons franchise, but it also symbolizes the broader ambition behind the stadium project, Atlanta's desire to present itself as a major international sports city. For visitors arriving during the World Cup, the statue will serve as a gateway into one of the tournament's most technologically advanced venues. When the 2026 World Cup begins, Mercedes-Benz Stadium will be one of the most prominent venues in the entire tournament. Fans will travel from across the globe to watch matches inside a building that represents the future of stadium architecture. The retractable roof will open above the field, the halo board will glow overhead, and tens of thousands of supporters will fill the stands in one of the most modern sports environments ever created. For Atlanta, the tournament represents another milestone in the city's sporting history. For Mercedes-Benz Stadium, it is the moment the building was ultimately designed for, hosting the world's most popular sport on its biggest stage. And when the first whistle blows inside the stadium during the 2026 tournament, the venue will transform from an architectural marvel into something even more important, a global gathering place for football. With the 2026 FIFA World Cup approaching, Arrowhead Stadium will soon host an entirely new global audience. For the first time, one of the most intimidating environments in American football will be repurposed for the world's most popular sport, bringing international attention to a stadium already legendary in the United States. In the 1960s, Kansas City leaders wanted something few cities had at the time: two purpose-built stadiums sitting side by side, one designed for baseball and one designed specifically for football. At the time, many American cities used multi-purpose stadiums that attempted to host both sports in a single venue. These circular concrete structures, often referred to as cookie-cutter stadiums, were efficient but rarely ideal for either sport. Sightlines were compromised, seating angles were awkward, and the atmosphere often felt diluted. Kansas City decided to do something different. City officials approved a bond initiative in 1967 to build two specialized stadiums, one for the Kansas City Royals and one for the Kansas City Chiefs. The project became known as the Truman Sports Complex, named after Missouri native and former U.S. President Harry S. Truman. Construction on Arrowhead Stadium began in 1968. The project was ambitious for its time, both in scale and in architectural philosophy. Instead of designing a shared venue, engineers built a football-specific stadium with steep seating angles and a bowl configuration that kept fans close to the field. The goal was simple: create an environment that amplified the game experience rather than merely hosting it. Arrowhead Stadium officially opened in 1972, becoming the permanent home of the Kansas City Chiefs. Unlike many stadiums built during the same era, Arrowhead was designed entirely around the geometry of football. The seating bowl forms a near-perfect oval around the field, maximizing sightlines and ensuring that fans remain close to the action regardless of where they sit. This design also contributes to something Arrowhead would eventually become famous for: noise. The stadium's bowl structure traps sound and reflects it back toward the field. When tens of thousands of fans scream in unison, something Chiefs fans have perfected over the decades, the sound reverberates throughout the stadium rather than dissipating upward. The result is a level of crowd noise that has become part of the stadium's identity. In fact, Arrowhead Stadium once held the Guinness World Record for the loudest crowd roar ever recorded at a sports venue. During a 2014 game between the Chiefs and the New England Patriots, the crowd reached 142.2 decibels, roughly equivalent to standing next to a jet engine. While other stadiums have occasionally challenged that record, Arrowhead remains widely recognized as the loudest stadium environment in the NFL. For opposing teams, this noise creates real competitive challenges. Quarterbacks struggle to communicate play calls, offensive linemen miss snap counts, and the overall rhythm of the offense can collapse under the pressure of the crowd. For Chiefs fans, the noise is not accidental. It is a tradition. Arrowhead Stadium currently holds approximately 76,416 spectators, making it one of the larger venues in the National Football League. The stadium structure is dominated by its massive concrete seating bowl and the signature ring of upper-level seating that surrounds the entire venue. Unlike many newer stadiums that emphasize glass facades and sweeping roof lines, Arrowhead's architecture is more grounded and utilitarian. Its strength lies in its durability and the intensity of its interior environment, rather than flashy exterior design. That said, the stadium still features a recognizable silhouette. The exterior ramps and the sweeping shape of the upper deck create a distinctive profile that fans immediately recognize. Another defining feature is the enormous parking area surrounding the stadium. Tailgating is a massive part of Chiefs culture, and Arrowhead's parking lots have become legendary gathering places hours before kickoff. On game days, thousands of fans arrive early to grill food, play music, and celebrate the communal ritual of Football Sunday. In many ways, the experience of Arrowhead begins long before fans even enter the stadium gates. When Arrowhead Stadium opened in 1972, the Kansas City Chiefs were already an established franchise with a championship pedigree. The team had been founded by Lamar Hunt in 1960 as the Dallas Texans before relocating to Kansas City in 1963. Under Hunt's leadership, the franchise quickly became one of the cornerstone organizations of the American Football League, or AFL. The Chiefs achieved their greatest early success in 1969 when they defeated the Minnesota Vikings in Super Bowl IV. That victory solidified the team's place in professional football history. However, The decades following that championship were far more complicated. While the Chiefs frequently fielded competitive teams throughout the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s, the franchise struggled to return to the Super Bowl. Arrowhead Stadium hosted many unforgettable playoff games during this period, but the ultimate championship remained elusive. Despite these frustrations, Chiefs fans remained among the most loyal in the NFL. Arrowhead rarely struggled with attendance, and the crowd's intensity became one of the stadium's defining characteristics. By the early 2000s, Arrowhead Stadium faced a challenge shared by many older venues: modernization. While the stadium's structure remained sound, the amenities and infrastructure were beginning to lag behind newer stadiums being built across the NFL. In 2006, Kansas City voters approved a renovation plan that would dramatically upgrade both Arrowhead Stadium and the neighboring Kauffman Stadium. The project allocated roughly $375 million toward improvements at Arrowhead. The renovation preserved the stadium's iconic bowl structure while modernizing nearly every operational aspect of the venue. Key upgrades included new high-definition video boards, expanded concourses, improved concession areas, modernized locker rooms and player facilities, enhanced premium seating and suites, upgraded audio systems. One of the most visually striking additions was the massive video board installed in the end zone, which quickly became one of the largest displays in the NFL. Importantly, the renovation respected the stadium's identity. Rather than demolishing and rebuilding the structure, as many cities have done, Kansas City chose to preserve Arrowhead's historic character while updating its technology and amenities. The renovated stadium reopened in 2010. Arrowhead Stadium entered a new era in the late 2010s with the arrival of quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Drafted in 2017, Mahomes quickly transformed the Chiefs into one of the most explosive offensive teams in NFL history. Under head coach Andy Reid, the Chiefs began a period of sustained dominance that culminated in multiple Super Bowl appearances and championships. Arrowhead Stadium played a central role in this era. Playoff games at Arrowhead became some of the most electric sporting events in North America. The combination of high-powered offense and deafening crowd noise created an environment that opposing teams often described as overwhelming. For Chiefs fans, Arrowhead was no longer just a historic stadium. It was the epicenter of a championship dynasty. For most of its history, the stadium was simply known as Arrowhead Stadium. In 2021, the Chiefs organization entered into a naming rights partnership with Government Employees Health Association, GEHA, a health benefits provider based in Missouri. Rather than renaming the stadium entirely, the partnership created the official title GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium. This hybrid naming structure preserved the iconic Arrowhead name while recognizing the sponsorship agreement. For fans, the stadium remains simply Arrowhead. In 2018, FIFA announced that the United States, Canada, and Mexico would jointly host the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Kansas City was later selected as one of the host cities. Arrowhead Stadium will play a major role in the tournament, hosting several matches as part of the expanded 48-team World Cup format. However, during the tournament, the stadium will not use its corporate name. FIFA prohibits sponsor conflicts during World Cup events, meaning venues are temporarily renamed using neutral geographic titles. As a result, GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium will be officially referred to as Kansas City Stadium during the tournament. For Kansas City, hosting the World Cup represents a significant moment. While the city has long been a football powerhouse in the NFL sense, the tournament will bring global attention to the region's growing soccer culture as well. Although Arrowhead Stadium was built primarily for American football, it has hosted numerous soccer events over the years. International friendlies, CONCACAF matches, and exhibition games have all taken place in the stadium. Kansas City also has a strong soccer identity thanks to Sporting Kansas City, one of Major League Soccer's most stable and successful franchises. While Sporting KC plays at Children's Mercy Park, the presence of a strong soccer fan base in the region helped Kansas City secure its place as a World Cup host city. When the 2026 tournament arrives, Arrowhead will transform to meet FIFA's specifications. This includes adjusting field dimensions, installing temporary seating configurations, and adapting broadcast infrastructure for the global event. Many stadiums built in the early 1970s have already been demolished. Arrowhead Stadium remains standing and thriving. Its continued relevance is a testament to the original design philosophy. By focusing on atmosphere, sightlines, and fan proximity rather than architectural trends, the stadium has aged far better than many of its contemporaries. At the same time, continuous upgrades have allowed the venue to keep pace with modern expectations. Today, Arrowhead Stadium exists in a rare category, a historic venue that still functions as a modern sports facility. Looking ahead, the long-term future of the stadium remains an ongoing conversation in Kansas City. Some proposals have suggested major renovations or even a completely new stadium for the Chiefs. However, Arrowhead's cultural significance and structural integrity make replacement a complicated decision. For now, the stadium remains one of the most recognizable venues in American sports. Its history spans generations of fans, its atmosphere is unmatched in the NFL, and its upcoming role in the 2026 FIFA World Cup will introduce it to millions of viewers around the globe. GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium is more than a football venue. It is a cultural landmark that embodies the passion of Kansas City sports fans. From its origins in the ambitious Truman Sports Complex to its reputation as the loudest stadium in professional football, Arrowhead has built a legacy that few venues can rival. It has witnessed the rise of championship teams, hosted unforgettable playoff battles, and created an environment where crowd noise becomes a strategic advantage. And in 2026, when the FIFA World Cup arrives in North America, the stadium will once again step onto the global stage, welcoming the world into one of the most intimidating and celebrated sports venues ever built. For more than 50 years, Arrowhead Stadium has proven that great stadiums are not defined by architecture alone. They are defined by the people who fill them. And in Kansas City, those people have turned a concrete bowl into one of the loudest, proudest, and most enduring stadiums in sports history. As the summer of 2026 unfolds, the city of Philadelphia finds itself at the epicenter of two monumental milestones: the United States semi-quincentennial 250th anniversary and the largest FIFA World Cup in history. At the heart of this dual celebration is Lincoln Financial Field. Known to locals as the Link, this stadium has long been the fortress of the NFL's Philadelphia Eagles. However, for the FIFA World Cup 26, it has been reimagined as a global cathedral of soccer. This transformation is not merely aesthetic. It is a feat of engineering, logistics, and cultural diplomacy. Philadelphia is hosting 5 group stage matches and 1 historic round of 16 knockout match, bringing the world to South Philadelphia in a way never seen before. Lincoln Financial Field was inaugurated in 2003, designed primarily for the rigors of American football. To transition from a gridiron to a FIFA-compliant pitch, the stadium underwent a multi-year renovation process. The most significant challenge for the Link was the width of the playing surface. An NFL field is approximately 53.3 yards wide, whereas a World Cup pitch requires a minimum of 68 meters, roughly 74 yards. To solve this, the stadium executed a corner extraction project. Several rows of seating in the 4 corners of the lower bowl were removed to create the necessary clearance for the pitch and the surrounding media and safety moats. While this temporarily reduced the capacity from 67,594 to approximately 65,000, it created a wider, more expansive atmosphere that rivals the great stadiums of Europe and South America. In the world of elite soccer, the grass is as much a piece of technology as the VAR, Video Assistant Referee system. For 2026, the Link moved away from its traditional Bermuda grass to a Hero hybrid grass system. The surface consists of 95% natural Kentucky bluegrass, reinforced with 5% specialized synthetic fibers. The synthetic fibers act as an anchor, preventing the natural grass from tearing during sharp pivots and slides, ensuring a consistent ball roll speed. Beneath the turf, a new sub-air system was installed. This technology can vacuum moisture out of the soil during heavy summer thunderstorms, or blow air up through the root system to cool the grass during Philadelphia's humid July heat waves. Lincoln Financial Field is one of the few stadiums globally to be LEED Platinum certified. Its 11,000 solar panels and 14 micro wind turbines generate roughly 30% of the venue's power. For FIFA, which has placed a heavy emphasis on sustainability for the 2026 tournament, the link serves as the gold standard for how a mega event can minimize its carbon footprint. While fireworks explode over the Philadelphia Museum of Art and the Benjamin Franklin Parkway, 2 of the world's top 16 teams will be fighting for survival in South Philadelphia. This match is expected to be the highest-rated television event in Philadelphia's history, showcasing the city to a global audience of over 1 billion people. Hosting a World Cup requires moving hundreds of thousands of people safely and efficiently. Philadelphia's advantage is its South Philadelphia Sports Complex, a rare design where the NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL venues are all located in one centralized hub. The Broad Street Line, BSL, is the lifeblood of the fan experience. During match days, SEPTA operates Sports Express trains that run every 5 to 7 minutes, transporting fans from the transit hubs at 30th Street Station and Center City directly to NRG Station at the stadium. To accommodate international travelers, SEPTA introduced a specialized World Cup Pass, a digital ticket that provides unlimited travel on subways, buses, and regional rail for the duration of the tournament. Philadelphia International Airport, PHL, underwent a massive $500 million upgrade leading into 2026. This included the expansion of Terminal A West to handle increased long-haul flights from Europe, South America, and West Africa. A dedicated World Cup Welcome Center at the airport ensures that fans arriving from around the globe are greeted with multilingual volunteers and immediate transit options to their hotels. The city converted several streets surrounding the stadium into pedestrian-only zones. Pattison Avenue and 11th Street have become fan walkways, lined with interactive exhibits, food trucks, and street performers, ensuring that the excitement begins the moment a fan exits the subway. While the action happens at the Link, the heart of the party is at Lemon Hill in Fairmount Park. The FIFA Fan Festival is the official public viewing area, designed for those who want the stadium atmosphere without the stadium ticket. Lemon Hill offers a panoramic view of the Philadelphia skyline and the Schuylkill River. It is situated just behind the Philadelphia Museum of Art, famously known for the Rocky Steps, giant LED screens. 3 massive screens, each over 40 feet wide, broadcast every match of the tournament live. In a city known for its food, the Fan Festival features a world market where fans can sample authentic cuisine from the 48 competing nations, alongside Philly staples like roast pork sandwiches and cheesesteaks. The Unity Pitch, a small-sided turf pitch where local youth leagues and visiting fans can participate in pickup games, fostering the spirit of the world's game. Philadelphia sports fans are world-renowned for their passion, and that energy has translated seamlessly into soccer. The stadium was designed with a broken roofline that reflects sound back onto the field. The result is a wall of sound that many international players have described as intimidating yet inspiring. The tradition of tailgating, usually reserved for American football, has been adopted by World Cup fans. Given the global profile of the World Cup and the 250th anniversary celebrations, Philadelphia was designated a national special security event. The Multi-Agency Coordination Center, a centralized command center, was established, bringing together the Philadelphia Police Department, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and FIFA's private security firm. In the digital age, the pitch isn't the only thing that needs protecting. The city implemented advanced cybersecurity protocols to protect the stadium's digital infrastructure, including the ticketing systems and the specialized Wi-Fi 6E network that allows 65,000 fans to stream and share content simultaneously. As the final whistle blows on the round of 16 match on July 4th, Philadelphia will have cemented its place in the pantheon of great international sports cities. Lincoln Financial Field, once a theater for the gridiron, has proven itself to be a versatile, world-class stage for the beautiful game. When the tournament concludes and the temporary seats are returned to the Eagles, the legacy of 2026 will remain in the refurbished neighborhood pitches, the booming tourism industry, and the memories of millions who saw the world come together at the Link. When the FIFA World Cup arrives in North America in 2026, the state of Massachusetts will host the tournament's biggest sporting event for the first time in history. At the center of that moment will be Gillette Stadium, located in Foxborough, roughly 27 to 30 miles southwest of Boston. For the duration of the tournament, the venue will temporarily operate under the neutral name Boston Stadium, in accordance with FIFA regulations that prohibit commercial naming rights during World Cup matches. Opened in 2002, Gillette Stadium was constructed as a replacement for the aging Foxborough Stadium and quickly became one of the most prominent sports venues in the northeastern United States. From the beginning, it was designed as a multi-purpose facility capable of hosting American football, soccer, and major entertainment events. It serves as the longtime home of the New England Patriots of the National Football League and the New England Revolution of Major League Soccer. That dual identity has shaped the stadium's evolution and positioned it uniquely for a global soccer event like the World Cup. Gillette Stadium's selection as a host venue reflects both infrastructure readiness and regional significance. FIFA's evaluation process emphasized stadium condition, transportation access, security planning, media capability, and the availability of nearby training facilities. While Foxborough itself is not a dense urban core, the stadium sits within Patriot Place, a large mixed-use development that includes hotels, restaurants, retail spaces, and entertainment venues. This environment allows the area to function as a self-contained event zone, a factor that aligns well with FIFA's operational requirements for major international tournaments. For the 2026 World Cup, Gillette Stadium will host 7 matches in total. These include 5 group stage matches, 1 round of 32 match, and 1 quarterfinal. Hosting a quarterfinal places the stadium among a smaller group of venues entrusted with knockout stage games, signaling FIFA's confidence in the site's operational reliability. The tournament schedule places matches at the stadium between mid-June and early July, with the quarterfinal scheduled for July 9, 2026. In its World Cup configuration, Gillette Stadium will have an approximate seating capacity of 65,000. While that figure is modest compared to some of the tournament's largest venues, the stadium's bowl design produces steep sightlines and a contained atmosphere that translates effectively for both spectators and broadcast audiences. The venue has consistently demonstrated its ability to manage large crowds during NFL playoffs, MLS matches, international soccer fixtures, and major concerts, providing a proven foundation for World Cup operations. Although Gillette Stadium typically uses an artificial playing surface for American football, the stadium will be converted to natural grass for the World Cup, as required by FIFA. This is not an unprecedented change. Gillette has previously installed natural grass for high-profile international soccer matches, including FIFA-sanctioned competitions. The transition will involve temporary pitch installation, specialized maintenance, and coordination with FIFA's pitch quality standards to ensure consistency throughout the tournament. The stadium's soccer history predates the World Cup by decades. As the home of the New England Revolution since Major League Soccer's founding season in 1996, the venue has played a central role in the sport's growth in the region. Gillette Stadium has also hosted numerous international matches, including CONCACAF Gold Cup games, U.S. men's and women's national team fixtures, and international friendlies. Notably, it served as a venue during the 2003 FIFA Women's World Cup, establishing precedent as a FIFA-approved tournament stadium. In preparation for the World Cup, Gillette Stadium enters the tournament following a significant period of modernization. A major renovation project completed in 2023 introduced several high-profile architectural and technological upgrades. Among the most visually distinctive additions is a 22-story lighthouse tower overlooking the stadium, complete with an observation deck and pedestrian bridge. The renovation also included a massive curved video board, expanded premium seating areas, upgraded concourses, and improvements to fan circulation and amenities. While these upgrades were not undertaken solely for the World Cup, they enhanced the stadium's readiness for a global audience. Transportation remains one of the most discussed aspects of Gillette Stadium's World Cup role. The venue is primarily accessed via highways, but special event commuter rail service from Boston and Providence has long been used for major events and is expected to play a role during the tournament. Planning efforts continue among local, state, and federal agencies to ensure adequate capacity, traffic flow, and security for match days, particularly given the scale of international attendance expected. Economically, hosting World Cup matches represents a significant opportunity for the region. The tournament is projected to bring tens of thousands of visitors to Massachusetts, driving demand across hotels, restaurants, transportation services, and tourism destinations. Beyond match days themselves, team training camps, media operations, and fan events will extend the tournament's footprint across the state. At the same time, organizers have acknowledged challenges related to funding, logistics, and long-term planning. The temporary renaming of Gillette Stadium to Boston Stadium reflects FIFA's broader approach to brand neutrality during the World Cup. While the change is symbolic, it highlights how the venue will be presented to a global audience unfamiliar with its NFL identity. For many international viewers, the stadium will be experienced not as an American football venue, but as a World Cup stage, defined by national teams, supporters, and tournament drama, rather than domestic sports affiliations. From a broader perspective, Gillette Stadium's inclusion in the 2026 World Cup reflects the expanding role of the United States in global football. While traditional soccer nations dominate the sport's history, the selection of venues like Gillette underscores FIFA's emphasis on infrastructure, market reach, and operational reliability. For New England, the World Cup represents a rare opportunity to host matches at the highest level of the sport, connecting the region to a tournament watched by billions worldwide. As the tournament progresses from group play into the knockout rounds, Gillette Stadium will transition from hosting early-stage fixtures to staging one of the most decisive matches of the competition. The quarterfinal brings with it the weight of elimination, global attention, and some of the tournament's most intense atmospheres. For a stadium built for American football and adapted for soccer, hosting such a match represents a defining moment in its history. The venue will have served as New England's gateway to the world's game, hosting players, supporters, and nations from across the globe. In doing so, it will have added a new chapter to its identity, one defined not only by NFL championships or domestic soccer matches, but by its place within the largest sporting event on the planet. Yet the legacy of Gillette Stadium's World Cup role will not be defined solely by the matches themselves. Long after the final supporters leave Foxborough and the temporary branding is removed, the tournament's influence will continue to shape how the stadium is perceived, both domestically and internationally. For a venue long associated with American football dominance, the World Cup represents a recalibration of identity, a moment where the stadium steps outside its familiar framework and into a truly global spotlight. The exposure alone is significant. World Cup broadcasts will project Gillette Stadium to audiences across every continent, introducing the venue to viewers who may have little familiarity with US sports culture. In that sense, the stadium becomes part of the broader story of football's expansion in North America. The matches played there will not exist in isolation. They will contribute to the evolving narrative of the sport in the United States. For the local region, the impact may be even more enduring. Hosting World Cup matches can accelerate grassroots interest, inspire future generations of players, and reinforce New England's place within the national soccer landscape. Gillette Stadium's World Cup chapter will stand alongside its NFL history not as a replacement, but as an expansion. It will leave a permanent imprint, one that reshapes how the stadium is remembered and how its future chapters are written.
And that's our video for today on the Gillette Stadium for the FIFA World Cup for 2026. Let us know your thoughts and feedback down below, and maybe suggestions for future topics. We'll see you next time on TFC Stadiums. Ciao.
When the conversation turns to the most visually striking stadiums in North America, the name that repeatedly surfaces is Estadio BBVA in Monterrey. Set dramatically against the rugged ridgeline of the Cerro de la Silla Mountains, the venue is one of the youngest and most architecturally distinctive stadiums selected for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. While Mexico is already synonymous with World Cup history, Estadio BBVA represents a different era of stadium development, one built around modern fan experience, advanced engineering, and global event hosting. Opened in 2015, the stadium was designed to position Monterrey as one of Latin America's premier sports cities and to give CF Monterrey a home worthy of its massive regional support. By the time the World Cup arrives in 2026, the stadium, often nicknamed El Gigante de Acero, the Steel Giant, will serve as one of the tournament's most visually recognizable venues. For decades, Monterrey's football identity revolved around Estadio Tecnológico, a stadium built in 1950 on the campus of Tecnológico de Monterrey. While historic, it gradually fell behind the standards expected of modern football venues. By the early 2000s, Liga MX clubs were beginning to rethink stadium infrastructure. Across Mexico and the United States, teams were realizing that the stadium was not simply a place to watch a match, it was an economic engine, capable of generating revenue through hospitality, retail, and entertainment. CF Monterrey's ownership group, FEMSA, began exploring the possibility of constructing an entirely new stadium. The objective was ambitious: create one of the most modern stadiums in Latin America, build a venue capable of hosting global events, deliver a fan experience that matched Monterrey's passionate football culture. Construction officially began in 2011, and after 4 years of development, the stadium opened in August 2015. The project cost approximately $200 million, relatively modest compared to recent NFL stadiums, but the design delivered a structure that felt far more expensive thanks to its dramatic architecture and location. Monterrey fans, known as Rayados supporters, have a reputation for creating one of the loudest atmospheres in North American football. The stadium regularly hosts crowds exceeding 50,000, with choreographed supporter displays, coordinated chants, and a wall of sound that echoes throughout the steel structure. Major matches here feel closer to European or South American football atmospheres than many North American venues. Since the stadium opened, it has hosted Liga MX playoff matches, CONCACAF Champions League games, international friendlies, Mexican national team matches. The venue has also served as a stage for concerts and cultural events, demonstrating its flexibility as a multi-purpose entertainment facility. Preparing for the FIFA World Cup, Mexico will make history in 2026 by becoming the first country to host 3 FIFA World Cups, following tournaments in 1970 and 1986. While historic venues like Estadio Azteca will again play a central role, Estadio BBVA represents the new generation of Mexican stadiums entering the global spotlight. For the tournament, the stadium will host several matches during the group stage and potentially knockout rounds, depending on final scheduling. Hosting requirements for FIFA tournaments include upgrades across several areas. Technology infrastructure. Stadiums must support massive broadcast operations, including global television feeds, high-capacity media workspaces, and advanced camera placements. And hospitality lounges must be expanded to accommodate FIFA's corporate partners. World Cup stadiums require extensive security planning, including controlled entry zones, perimeter security, and surveillance systems. Large international tournaments bring tens of thousands of visitors from around the world, requiring coordination with city transport networks. Monterrey's infrastructure, including its international airport and modern road system, positions it well to handle the influx of global fans. While Mexico City often dominates international attention, Monterrey has quietly become one of the country's most economically powerful and modern cities. Located in northern Mexico near the US border, Monterrey is known for major industrial corporations, modern infrastructure, strong business investment, a thriving football culture. Hosting World Cup matches will further elevate the city's international profile. Visitors arriving in Monterrey during the tournament will encounter a unique blend of modern skyline, mountain landscapes, and intense football culture. For many fans, Estadio BBVA may become one of the most memorable stadium environments of the tournament, simply because of its location and design. The nickname El Gigante de Acero perfectly captures the character of the stadium. When filled with Rayados supporters, the building transforms into a vibrating wall of sound. Several factors contribute to the atmosphere. Steep seating tiers keep fans close to the pitch. The roof structure reflects sound downward toward the field. Supporter sections located behind the goals create continuous chanting throughout matches. Even neutral matches played here often feel like home games for Monterrey due to the city's deep football culture. During the World Cup, this intensity will likely translate into one of the loudest stadium environments in the tournament. Modern stadium design increasingly focuses on sustainability, and Estadio BBVA incorporated several forward-thinking elements when it opened. The open bowl structure allows airflow to circulate naturally, reducing reliance on mechanical cooling. LED lighting reduces power consumption while delivering broadcast-quality illumination. Drainage and irrigation systems help maintain the natural grass pitch in Monterrey's hot climate. While newer stadiums may push sustainability even further, these features placed Estadio BBVA among the more environmentally conscious venues built during the 2010s. Mexico has produced some of the most iconic stadiums in football history. From Estadio Azteca, site of Pelé and Maradona's legendary World Cup moments, to historic venues scattered across Liga MX. Stadium culture has always been central to the country's football identity. Estadio BBVA represents the next chapter of that story. Rather than replacing history, it expands Mexico's stadium landscape with a modern venue capable of hosting the biggest tournaments on Earth. Its design reflects a broader shift happening across global football infrastructure. One of the defining characteristics of Estadio BBVA is how it interacts with its natural surroundings. Rather than simply placing a stadium within the city grid, architects designed the venue to visually frame Cerro de la Silla, the iconic mountain that towers over Monterrey. From many seats inside the stadium, fans can see the mountain rising above the open end of the structure. This design decision gives the stadium something that cannot be manufactured through architecture alone: a natural backdrop. The stadium's asymmetrical roofline was engineered partly to maximize that view. One side of the stadium rises higher than the other, creating a dynamic silhouette that mirrors the mountain landscape behind it. This visual integration with the environment is one of the reasons Estadio BBVA quickly became known as one of the most beautiful football stadiums in the Americas. The stadium was designed by the global architecture firm Populous, working alongside Mexican firm VFO Arquitectos. Their goal was to combine international stadium expertise with regional architectural identity. The stadium seats approximately 53,500 spectators, making it one of the largest football venues in Mexico. The exterior is wrapped in a sweeping steel skin composed of curved panels that reflect light differently depending on the time of day. At night, integrated lighting transforms the stadium into a glowing structure visible from across the city. Unlike older stadiums with athletics tracks or large gaps between seating tiers, Estadio BBVA was designed with a tight football bowl. This keeps fans closer to the pitch and amplifies crowd noise. The stadium's roof covers a significant portion of the seating bowl, protecting spectators from Monterrey's intense sun while maintaining airflow for the natural grass pitch. The seating tiers were carefully engineered to ensure that nearly every seat provides an unobstructed view of the field. Together, these design choices create an atmosphere that feels both intimate and monumental. When the 2026 FIFA World Cup begins, Estadio BBVA will stand among a collection of stadiums spread across 3 nations: the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The tournament will be the largest in history, featuring 48 national teams and dozens of matches across the continent. For Monterrey, the World Cup represents more than just a sporting event. It is an opportunity to showcase the city to the world, to demonstrate that northern Mexico has both the infrastructure and the passion to host the global game. Fans watching from around the world will see the stadium framed by mountains, illuminated by floodlights, and filled with tens of thousands of supporters. Few venues combine natural scenery and football culture the way Estadio BBVA does. More than a decade after opening, Estadio BBVA continues to stand as one of the most successful stadium projects in Mexico. It delivered a permanent home for CF Monterrey, a modern football venue capable of hosting international tournaments, a new architectural landmark for Monterrey, and in 2026, it will achieve the milestone it was partly built for, hosting the FIFA World Cup. When the first World Cup match kicks off beneath the Mexican mountains, the steel giant will officially take its place on football's biggest stage.